If you were to travel to a world where monsters roam freely, and then choose your own companions, build your own home together, whom would you choose? 5 months ago, I was just a regular sales manager. That day, after signing a big contract, I only had a small drink at the celebration banquet. Suddenly, I felt a tightness in my chest and crossed over to a wasteland world where monsters roamed. I thought it was a prank staged by the theater playing a joke on me. I tried my best to run away from this haunted place. But here is even more vast than I imagined. What's even more bizarre is that I found my body has completely transformed from head to toe. Not only that, a system interface suddenly appeared in front of my eyes. And so I became the scrapper of this world. At that time, the only thought in my mind was to call the police. But I didn't even have a phone on me, let alone any money. So I spent the whole day here. In order to survive, I had to face reality. I had to find food to fill my stomach first. What surprised me was that I actually found a place where there were people. I was hoping to go in, find something to eat, and ask for some information about the world. Suddenly, a gun was suddenly pointed at my head, and the other person was asking where I came from. I heard that he was not speaking the language of my original world, yet I could understand and even felt capable of speaking it myself. I told him, "Bro, don't be nervous. I'm just passing through here." Before I could finish speaking, suddenly a gunshot rang out, which made me break out in a cold sweat. At a glance, the creature dead in front of me was a bear-like monster. He then said to me, "This is Wasteland World, not an amusement park. If you wander around without equipment, you will become food for these monsters." That's how I lived here for 5 months. I learned that this world was in a great war 200 years ago. It almost destroyed the entire civilization of mankind, entering the wasteland era, where this wasteland not only gave birth to various mutated animals. There is also a threat from the raiders. Although I have gained some understanding of this world, but there is a faint voice that keeps appearing in my ear, as if guiding me to a place. Following the guidance of the voice, I arrived at an abandoned sanatorium. As I approached, the voice became more and more intense. "You're right. The voice calling out to me is coming from here. Let's go in and take a look." When I arrived at a closed door, I wondered if this place was a shelter. I looked at the activation entrance on the door, which was about the size of my palm, so I placed my hand on it. The door opened immediately. A huge figure enveloped me, and I thought to myself, I hope I didn't just activate a big boss. As he approached, a small intelligent robot appeared before my eyes. Before I could speak, it said to me that it is the assistant of this refuge, and I will be the administrator here. At this moment, the system suddenly popped up and upgraded my status from scrapper to administrator. Later, I learned from the robot's mouth that I need to use the system to guide players from other worlds to come here together to build a home. After completing the mission, you can receive rewards and continue to upgrade to become stronger. When I heard this, I asked excitedly, "Can I contact Earth from here?" "Of course you can. Kai Tong will distribute the game helmets to each player through a special method. Players just need to wear the helmet. He can then connect with the cultivation pod in the shelter, in the identity of a clone." After he finished speaking, endless joy and sorrow rose in my heart. It's truly a case of heaven never seals off all the exits. The road ahead is still open for a turnaround. My lucky break has finally arrived. Looking at the robot in front of me, I think calling it by a number is too cumbersome. From now on, let's go with 7. After hearing that, it shouted out that I now have a name. He danced with joy like a little child. This scene evokes mixed feelings in me. In no time, the system assigned me a task to recruit 4 players to obtain the CNT armor vest, which is the carbon nanofiber ballistic vest, available at night. On major social apps like Instagram and Facebook in the original world, people are feverishly discussing a game called Wasteland. Right now, I am sitting in front of a computer in the shelter, typing frantically. I have sent a message. If you are willing to try, please click the small red heart on the right side. The man is looking at the link I sent. He thinks, of course I don't believe this. But if it is true, then the wife I personally created in the game girl scroll, wouldn't she be able to come to life from the game? Then he shouted loudly, "Who's afraid of whom?" As a university student, one must have the spirit of daring to explore and research, he said as he swiped his hand across the keyboard. He immediately pressed the game reservation button. I am an administrator in the shelter of Wasteland World. I can use the system to teleport players from different worlds to come and build their own homes with me in a gaming way. This man cannot resist the temptation in his heart. He pressed the button to reserve the game. He is in the school cafeteria, fighting for his life to finish his meal. After eating and drinking his fill, He hummed a little tune as he headed back to the dormitory. Upon returning, he saw a package placed on the table. He then proceeded to open the package, inside of which was the game headset that I had sent from Wasteland World. He picked up the headset, incredulously thinking how mysterious this whole thing is. Regardless, without thinking too much about it, I'll just try wearing it first. He was fantasizing about meeting his fabricated wife soon. His heart was filled with immense excitement. Before he could snap out of his daydream, what appeared before him was the game activation process, requiring a wait of 3 more days. He angrily exclaimed, "I've already taken off my pants, and you're telling me I still have to wait 3 more days?" The game chat forum is also in an uproar. I am facing a lot of doubts and questions. I am explaining that because everyone is a loyal user of the game, that's why I distributed the headwear to the players in advance. This dispelled everyone's doubts. Afterward, Seven and I planned a series of game features. Because the early construction of the shelter requires physical labor, male players are more important. I then asked Seven to set the GM as a more attractive female to appeal to male players. At this point, Seven asked why only 4 slots were available when we had 11 players reserved for the GM. I explained that resources were scarce in the early stages, and if we did that, we would run out of resources before even getting started. As the saying goes, haste makes waste. Let's focus on what needs to be done now. It means to first cultivate these 4 players. In no time, the system reminded me that my task was completed. Please claim the reward of the CNT armor vest. It looks quite advanced. The bulletproof vest was directly put on me. Looking at the various attributes of the bulletproof vest, I will be safer during outdoor activities in the future. Seven said to me, "The bulletproof vest is just an appetizer. The real highlight today is the mystery box reward. However, the purchase condition is the reward points obtained in previous tasks. The points and materials corresponding to each level of mystery box are different. Low-level mystery boxes can contain food, while high-level ones contain weapons. I'm wondering if I should use 5 points to open a beginner box or wait until I accumulate 100 points to draw a weapon. When I am still hesitating, the system has given a new task. Ensure that a player logs into the game. Prepare a high-power generator. Reward: 100 points. 100 points. Oh my goodness. 7 reminds me that Vital Essence is similar to a revive coin that revives players. If that's the case, let's talk about the weapon after completing the mission. 7 helped me spend all the points on basic blind boxes. At this time, the machine made a buzzing sound. And at this moment, my face was full of gloom as I looked at the food that came out of the machine. Is this the blind box reward? This system is too stingy. Am I a child to be given so many candies? And why is there 1 less food item? I see a note mixed in with the food. I wonder what this is all about. I looked at the series of words written on the note. This is an Easter egg left for the successor. I angrily said, "How is this an Easter egg? It's clearly meant to purposely deceive me of a reward." On the other hand, speaking of which, under the conditions of civilization lost. However, it is still possible to create such awesome black technology. It seems that the first-generation administrator is not just a genius. Then, I asked Seven if he knows the first-generation administrator, but Seven did not know because he was also activated by the main program shortly after I arrived here. Since that's the case, let's leave it at that. The player will log in 3 days later. I'll go to the recycling bin first to see if I can find some food. When will you come back? Don't worry, I'll be back at the latest in 3 days. If everything goes smoothly, I can come back tomorrow. How to tame a simple and cute wild kitten. Just need a sweet and tasty lollipop. You can easily handle it. Just now, I came alone to the wilderness where monsters abound in order to take care of the player's food, drink, rest, and hygiene. I unexpectedly encountered several 2-headed Leakin hounds. I could have easily taken them down. But in order to avoid unnecessary complications, I decided to give up the action. Shortly afterwards, I arrived at the destination I set out for this time. A few batteries and bullets on the scale at the recycling station. That's the materials I collected for the day. I got a total of 3 chips in exchange. Later I asked if there were any weapons to exchange, but as expected, there were none here. However, he suggested exchanging for some food and fuel because winter is approaching. You are that young man from 5 months ago, right? It seems you haven't experienced winter here. Let me tell you about it. The monsters in each world will become quite active. You never know whether the snow is hiding recyclable waste or the fangs of monsters. Once winter arrives, the caravan will no longer come here. The waste you find can only pile up in the house. Old Charles has started again. He was originally a talented person in a refuge somewhere. Later he was captured and made into a slave. He was later auctioned off as an item. He was then bought by the mayor of Bell Street, who assigned him the job of dealing with Scrapper. If this world wasn't such a mess, he would probably have become an engineer, doctor, or scholar like his ancestors. In any case, he wouldn't be here keeping accounts for others. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Perhaps because he was also a survivor, that's why he treated me so kindly. Returning to the dilapidated home, counting a box of insignificant chips, but this is already my entire wealth. When the players come here hungry, they won't do anything unimaginable to me, right? Thinking of this, I have to go out to look for scraps again. The sudden appearance of a little girl startled me. The little girl, at a loss, explained to me that it was not intentional. I just saw some movement in your house and thought there might be a thief, so I wanted to help you take a look. I'm sorry, it's nothing. Thank you. Seeing that I didn't blame her, she was very happy. Big brother, in the future when you go out, I can help you look after the house. Anyway, I'm free and have nothing to do. When I show an evil look, children should not interact with strangers when they are outside. What would you do if you encounter bad people? I am not a child anymore. And big brother, you are not a bad person. Before, when I was hungry, you even brought me soup to drink. Turns out she still remembers that incident. Since then, she has often been lurking near my house. Alright, don't be angry now. Big brother, I have some candy to eat here. It seems like she has never had a lollipop before. I'll help you. I tore off the wrapper of the lollipop and handed it to the girl. She seems like she has never seen it before. Then she started licking it. After she tasted it, she said to me, "It's so sweet. As long as you like it. This thing is called a lollipop." Haha. It's the first time I've seen Big Brother smile. Such delicious things. Big brother, why don't you have a taste too? If you were to be transported to a wasteland world where monsters roam, build your own home together with your partner, whom would you choose? Today is the first day players arrive in this world. At this moment, I am waiting outside the door for their arrival. When they walk out of the teleportation pod, they are all stunned. They all exclaim in unison, "This is too real." The strength-based player pinches his face, White Horse, and the agility-based player grabs his crotch, Fong Chong. Storm, the intelligence-based player, wipes his glasses. At that moment, the last one, the tiny dog Yiten, who is nothing, hears noises coming from outside the door. When the door opens, the people who come are me and Seven. Welcome everyone. Next, what we need to do is to rebuild our own homeland, to rebuild the entire human civilization. I am the administrator Dawnlight here. In addition, he is my assistant Seven. The four of them at this moment are already stunned and speechless by this scene. Very good. My aura has firmly grasped them. The next second, a bunch of questions came out of their mouths. I was at a loss for words when they asked, so I just handed them the beginner's manual. Not long after, we arrived in the wilderness, and they were discussing where a Guang from the group had gone. Offending this administrator might lead to getting banned, right? It seems that this NPC is not an easy character to deal with. I turned and said, "I hope you can all realize the situation. Winter is coming soon. Your first task now is to pick up the axe on the ground. Collect enough wood as firewood for the winter. And it is necessary to build the sanatorium in front of us. Everyone is full of enthusiasm. Let's rebuild our home together. But don't go too far, otherwise, if they encounter monsters, I won't be able to rescue." After understanding everything, they picked up their weapons and headed into the forest. I asked Seven to follow them in case of any special circumstances. Later, everyone was busy with their own tasks and soon became out of breath from exhaustion. If I keep walking inside, what do you think will happen? Will I meet the elf Wanisan living in the forest? Elf or not, I don't know. But I know that I will definitely encounter some terrifying monsters. If you dare to act on your own, we will break your waist. Oh. Before long, he was thinking about the cool look I just had, and he became angry all of a sudden. Why should I listen to an NPC? Suddenly, a red exclamation mark appeared above his head, and the axe in his hand fell to the ground. In an instant, a sharp claw mark scratched on the nearby large tree. Yiten also trembled at the sudden attack from the shrimp. I am the administrator of a shelter in Wasteland World. Because winter is approaching, I led 4 players to collect wood in the wilderness. After giving instructions, I returned to the shelter to study a vital essence extractor for system rewards. I learned from the system manual that vital essence is the raw material for synthesizing player clones. But the materials need to be collected by oneself. On the other side, Seven ran back to the shelter in a panic, shouting that something had happened. He said a big bird attacked the players who were cutting trees. I felt uneasy after hearing that. At the same time, the big bird is standing in the air. Yi-Tin is still complaining about this game, saying that it doesn't even have a monster guide storm. After hearing this, the explanation was that the game updated various functions yesterday. Later, his eyes lit up as he analyzed that this giant bird is precisely the mutant mighty falcon from the Compendium of Mutants. Watching as the mighty falcon was about to pounce on them, Storm was still silently reciting, "If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move." When he looked to the side, the others had already disappeared without a trace. Just as he was angrily reprimanding the few people hiding in the bushes, "I have arrived," throwing stones to attract the attention of Mighty Falcon. My actions angered it, its eyes glowing red. It then dove towards me, and I tightly gripped the spear in my hand. I disdainfully said, "An animal is just an animal. No matter how much its intelligence evolves, it can never compare to humans." Just as it was about to attack me, I raised the spear in my hand, along with my words, "Are you ready to die?" The next moment, the long spear directly pierced through Mighty Falcon's chest, a series of actions causing the 4 people present to exclaim in awe. Not long after, the earlier Mighty Falcon had already been placed on our barbecue grill, and the 4 people were wondering whether the mutated monster could be eaten. Of course, once cooked it can be eaten, but it would be even more delicious with seasonings. It's a pity that this is Wasteland World. They are afraid they can't finish eating. They said that the leftovers can be stored in the refrigerator. I explained that even the host here, the mayor's castle, only has 1 refrigerator. And Yi-Tin began his fantasy again, fantasizing about several maids lying on the bed, waiting for some kind of behavior from him. At this moment, Fong Chong asked administrator, "May I ask how much would we need in total?" "Of course, we will cut as much as we need." They immediately lost their previous enthusiasm when they heard it, and each of them started wanting to slack off. Seeing this, I have to announce the task of cutting the honorless. As long as you complete the tasks I assign, you will earn contribution points. Contribution points can be exchanged for various rewards from me. For example, 5 contribution points can be exchanged for a roasted chicken leg, and 8 contribution points can be exchanged for 2 roasted chicken legs. At this point, their mouths are all watering. Several of them immediately ran off to chop trees. They were afraid that by the time they exchanged them, their chicken drumsticks would not be as plentiful as the other parties. I am the administrator of a shelter in Wasteland World. I can use the system to transfer players from different worlds here to build our own home together. Just now, players rush to cut down trees. Several people want to complete my task to earn contribution points. They want to exchange their contribution points for a roasted chicken leg from the Mighty Falcon. They are now exhausted. It's time for me to announce the results. Player Whitehorse has earned 800 contribution points. Yi-Tin and Fong Chong both received the same 450 points. Storm is still complaining about his physique, so he only got 300 points. Afterward, I told them, "You can view the contribution points you have earned on the official website. Contribution points can be used to exchange for goods, and can also be used to exchange for revival coins." I intended to take them for a treat after they completed the task. But as I looked at the few chips left in my hand, I decided to forget about it. At this moment, Fong Chong saw that the outpost of the shelter had no electricity, and asked why we didn't get a generator. Actually, I also wanted to, but there is nobody here who understands electrical engineering. If anyone can solve this problem, I will offer a special reward. As night fell, players headed towards the teleportation capsule, ready to leave this place. Watching them leave, I realized that I needed to find some people who can stay up late for cultivation, or else being alone at night would be quite dangerous. Just as I was thinking about this, Seven mentioned that the system had just generated a health check report, and asked if I wanted to view it. Let's take a look then. Every time a player logs off, a portion of their clone's genes will be preserved and developed. Every player possesses their own innate abilities, such as strength. When the development progress reaches 100%, players' innate abilities will reach their most perfect state. Currently, players' development progress is all between 1%. After listening, I understand that players can actually level up. Isn't this a perfect nurturing mechanism? The other side is the real world. Storm just woke up from the game. His identity on this side is a professor. At this moment, he is thinking about the generator I mentioned earlier. To solve this issue, it seems he will need to consult Professor Wang. When he arrived at the cafeteria, it was already 12 o'clock noon. Sitting across from him is Professor Wang, who is saying hello to the female classmates watching next to him. Just because he is so handsome, they are obsessed with him. At this moment, Storm mentioned that he had recently read a post-apocalyptic novel. He was puzzled, and then what happened next? I would like to ask, How to solve the electricity problem in the post-apocalyptic world. In the morning, you mentioned that you wanted to ask me something. Is this what you wanted to ask about? You are so serious about the details in the novel. Could it be that you can really time travel to a post-apocalyptic world? Storm remained calm after hearing this. In fact, he was already in a panic inside. How could he know that there were only 4 spots for the closed beta testing of the game? I am the administrator of a shelter in Wasteland World. Players from other worlds can come to this world through the game I created, and I can assign various tasks for them. Just now, Storm completed the generator task I proposed. After returning to the real world, he found Professor Wang and consulted him for guidance. Next, Professor Wang asked him about the overall background of Wasteland World. He answered that the setting is 200 years after a nuclear weapons war. Unprotected electronic devices would be damaged by the electromagnetic pulse generated by a nuclear explosion. However, it's not completely powerless. Upon hearing this, Storm immediately took out his little notebook and said, "I'd like to hear more details. In general, there is a recyclable generator on most cars. As long as the rotor is spun, it can generate 12 volts of direct current. If an inverter is added to convert the direct current into 240 volts of alternating current, it is also possible." After saying that, he is about to leave. If there is anything you don't understand, feel free to come and find me at any time. After he leaves, a message came to the phone in Storm's pants pocket. When he opened it, he was speechless immediately. It turned out to be Fong Chong in the group chat. And Fong Chong is in a room filled with trophies. He is a gaming blogger in the real world. At this moment, he is live streaming in the broadcast room, chatting with friends online about the strategy of Wasteland World. He talked about how in the game, exceeding the limit of pain doesn't elicit any sensation, but a slight pinch on the face will make it swell. Not only that, there is also a resurrection mechanism. But the annoying thing is that there is a 3-day cooldown after death. But most importantly, it is hoped that the developer Brother Dwanlight can allow players to freely set their gender. The me on the other side was at a loss for words after hearing it. Currently, there are already 25 players who have pre-ordered the game, but it's not yet time to add new players. Since this kid is working so hard to promote me, I should also say something in the group. I immediately instructed the system to activate the voice input mode. Next is the second round of testing for the game. New rule. Please fill in your strengths or interests, which can determine your attribute preference. But you don't even need to think about customizing your gender. In addition, the player's behavior in the game determines the attitude of NPCs towards you. As long as the favorability level reaches a certain degree, it may trigger hidden tasks to unlock hidden professions. That's all for now. You can find out more details on the official website. Just when I want to take a break, I suddenly realized that if players can use gaming headsets, then I can also use them. 7 explained dejectedly that there is no genetic information related to me in his database, so he is unable to help me connect to the incubator. If that's the case, then forget it. Can you help me calculate my attributes instead? When the interface pops up, I look at my various attributes. Does level 5 refer to a development progress of 5? Then wouldn't my attributes be 1 level higher than other players? Just as I pondered this, a prompt popped up, indicating that I unlocked the achievement Newbie Guide and obtained 10 reward points. At the same time, 7 reminded me that I can now recharge in exchange for an intermediate blind box once. Then let's try to see what can be opened. As long as it's not cough drops, it's fine. The machine started to make noise, and I had a gloomy expression on my face. The system reminds me that this is the muscle augmentation injector, which can permanently increase muscle strength. The enhancement effect decreases with each injection. But can this thing still be used after being left in the shelter for 200 years? This makes me a little nervous. But we can't worry about that now. Let's give it an injection and try it. After the injection, I didn't feel any effects. Seems like this medicine is expired. But a strange energy is manifesting on my hand. I just feel a little tingling sensation. I am the administrator of a shelter in the post-apocalyptic world. I can drain any player dry by cutting down their resources. Just now, I drained the player and got a muscle augmentation injector. When I injected it, an inexplicable energy manifested in my hand. When the energy dissipated, I felt refreshed and clear-headed all over. Just as I was reminiscing, that feeling inexplicably disappeared again. Is it really an expired product? In that case, let 7 help me with a full body checkup first. Then my attribute panel popped up, and it seems that my strength and constitution have increased a bit. At this point, 7 explained that when my strength attribute reaches 10, I will be able to have twice the strength of an adult man. Since it has not expired, let's leave it at that. I then asked 7 what time it was, and it was already 4 a.m. It looks like players will be able to enter the game again in just an hour and a half. 7, you go get ready. After 7 left, the system updated my mission. It suddenly gave me 20 daily tasks, but the main quest did not update. 20 daily tasks are enough for me to earn 150 reward points. But doing them alone might just kill me directly. Currently, there are only 35 players who have pre-registered for the game. To attract more players, perhaps new promotional methods need to be considered. Traditional advertising may not be very practical. Otherwise, when players who come in later are picky about food, dislike the clothes and find the game boring, I'll be really embarrassed. Just at this point, let the players register an account, provide their phone number and shipping address to filter out those indecisive players. Wouldn't that be better? As I was saying, I sent a questionnaire in the group chat. On the other side, a notification popped up on the computer screen in the real world, startling a woman and causing her pupils to suddenly dilate. She only relaxed when she saw that the message was not a reminder from Party A. At the moment, she is troubled by the lack of inspiration for clothing design, but the group seems to be chatting enthusiastically. She thinks she might as well join in the fun, and the group chat has already exploded. When she scrolled down, she saw the appointment link I sent. She clicked on it out of curiosity. Then a game introduction popped up. Next are some game explanations. She didn't find anything particularly special after looking. She saw the mention of plastic surgery and bionic modification in the game introduction. She couldn't help but think that these are all new trends in the fashion world. She stood up suddenly. She excitedly said, "I finally found inspiration. It's really cool." Then, without hesitation, she pressed the game's appointment button. And so, Wasteland has gained another talent. In order to restore the entire human civilization, I have summoned players from various worlds to come to my shelter through a game. Together with me, complete system tasks to rebuild Wasteland World. At this moment, I am crossing my legs and feeling proud of the game survey that I just released. What did you remember at that moment? I looked at the time on the computer, and it was already 6 o'clock in the morning. It seems it's time to go and meet my lovely little sheep. The sheep are complaining about their game character attributes on their panels, while 7, who came to welcome them, has been waiting on the side for a while. Suddenly, Yi Tin had a constipated look on his face, holding his stomach. He quickly asked 7 where the bathroom was. But 7's response was that there were only cultivation pods here, no bathroom. Seeing this, the people nearby immediately pulled him away. By the time I arrived here, Yi Tin had already started tugging at his pants. Several people tried to gain my favor. They immediately struck a pose and displayed a look of reverence. When they saw me, I also had a serious look on my face. It seems that several people in the group have some understanding of the NPC favorability discussed yesterday. Later, I told everyone that it's going to get colder soon, so what we need to do next is to stock up on food, drinking water, fuel, and so on. Later, we arrived outside the shelter. Before I could say anything, everyone unanimously suggested that the most important thing now is to build a toilet. Several people then mentioned that after having the toilet, we should dig a big pit, mix in grass ash and sawdust compost. This way we can make fertilizer. Upon hearing this, I thought of Bait Street, which seems to also collect the essence pulled out by residents and livestock and sell it to nearby bronze farmland. Is it also used as fertilizer? Seal the extracted essence and organic matter, create a biogas digester, and let anaerobic bacteria convert it into combustible methane. The produced biogas can be used to create a methane fuel cell. In this way, we can establish a toilet electricity generation station. I didn't understand a lot of what you said, but the idea sounds good. It's worth considering. At this point, Storm analyzed that in order to do all this well, a large amount of sealing and gas storage materials are needed. There's no trouble with that. The wasteland world is not lacking in plastic, especially beverage bottles and garbage bags. Then I asked them to go to the outskirts of the nearby city to find the necessary materials and informed them that the formula card with the tasks and rewards written on it was on my finger's side. There are a total of 3 tasks on the task card. The first one is to collect wood. Find water storage containers. Collect recyclable waste. Wait for me to finish talking about Storm. Raise your hand and talk about the generator. He has a faster way. Let him speak first. Then he asks if I can find a car nearby. Most cars have onboard generators on them. There is indeed, but I have looked there and found nothing. I want to go take another look just in case I find it. Since you said so, I will go, but the condition is to bring one more person along. Otherwise, what if we encounter aliens? To restore the entire human civilization, I have summoned players from various worlds to come to my shelter through the game. Let's work together to complete the system mission of rebuilding the wasteland world. Just now, Storm managed to get the car-mounted generator on the car. He wants to go to the wetland park parking lot to search. I am worried, so I asked Yi-Ten to go together. I told them to follow me to the shelter to get the map and equipment. Yi-Ten, who was about to walk out of the novice village, didn't forget to show off to Fang Chong and White Horse. White Horse immediately responded with a friendly gesture. Not long after, they followed the map's instructions and arrived at the parking lot 2 miles away from the shelter. However, it seemed that this place had already been looted by others. Seeing this situation, Yi-Ten complained that they might as well go back. Storm insists on persevering. Since they have come, they can't return empty-handed. I saw him come to the front of the car. He used all his lifelong skills. He still couldn't lift the car's hood. Then he yelled, "Yi-Ten, are you loafing around? Come help out." Yi-Ten looked at him acting so weak, couldn't help but wonder what he does in the real world. Continuing, the two of them exerted 2.5 years' worth of effort to finally open the hood. Looking at the rust and moss inside the car engine, Storm's brain cells were almost depleted and couldn't tell which one was the engine. He asked Yi-Ten, "Didn't you tell me that you have driven a car before? Can you help me take a look? Does Need for Speed count?" Storm suddenly had 800 curses pop into his mind. Later, he searched back and forth in the car, wondering why it wasn't there. He did find the engine but couldn't find the power source. Yi-Ten. Upon hearing this, Yi-Ten immediately became impatient, pointing at the trash can and saying not to waste time. Perhaps it had already been taken by someone else, or maybe see if there are any recyclable waste. Just as Storm sighed and was about to give up, suddenly Yi-Ten said he made a significant discovery. Storm hurried over and asked if he had found the generator. But it wasn't a generator, it was a sewer entrance. Yi-Ten wanted to go in, but Storm advised him that the inside was full of unknown dangers, so it was too risky to enter hastily. Yi-Ten laughed and said, "The more unknown a place is, the more valuable it is to explore. Isn't it? Maybe below is a place filled with different species of beautiful anime girls. Then I might get to enjoy being a hero and saving them." Storm said, "Although I dare not agree with your fantasies. But there might be a treasure chest with a generator inside below." That's how they walked into the sewer. They were still wondering what kind of mushroom this was. It looked quite unique. Storm advised him to bring it back obediently, ask about the situation first, and then talk about it. "I won't take responsibility if it poisons someone later." Before long, they arrived at the depths of the sewer. Suddenly, Yi-Ten froze in place, shaking all over. A red exclamation mark appeared above his head as well. Encountering the mutant Mighty Falcon earlier filled me with fear. A low growl emerged from the depths of the sewer at this moment. The next second he ran off while Storm thought he had gone crazy. I'm playing the role of a wasteland game NPC. Just now, Storm and Yi-Ten arrived at a sewer. As they were walking, they heard a low growl coming from deep within. They were scared and ran away as fast as they could. On the other side, Fang Chong and White Horse are digging holes for the latrine. The sun was shining high, making them sweat all over with the stench. I covered my nose and told them that there is a water source within a kilometer where they could go to take a bath. In addition, urine is sterile and can be used directly to irrigate crops. Let's stop here for today. Fang Chong suggested me to build a bathhouse. There might be female players joining in the future. We can't have the girls bathing outside, can we? Suddenly, 2 cries for help were heard. It turned out to be Yi-Ten who was trying to escape. Just as Yi-Ten was about to fall into the pit, he managed to stop in time. But Storm, who was completely unaware of the situation, directly pulled him and herself in. They both collided and fell down together. The mushrooms I picked were also flying in the air, so I gathered the mushrooms on the ground. Seems they found something good. Later, I cooked a pot of porridge for them, which was no different from green bean soup. But they devoured it voraciously, as if they were starving ghosts reincarnated. Could it be that I cooked it too deliciously? I asked with doubt. Yi-Ten, where did you find these mushrooms? Storm said it was marked on the map. Just near the sewer not far from Wetland Park. Yi-Ten asked me if this mushroom is edible, or can be used to make buff potions. You are overthinking. The scientific name of that thing is Blue Angel. Unless you are immune to all poisons. Otherwise, after eating it, you will see a real angel in just 1 hour. Although it cannot be consumed, it is the main raw material for producing radioprotective agents. Fortunately, you have not encountered the exotic leech. This mushroom typically grows near its nest. The young leeches pose no threat, but adults can grow up to 3 meters. can swallow a person whole in one bite. After hearing that, the two of them realized they had just taken a detour to the Gate of Ghosts, and they shuddered at the thought. This operation discovered the leech's location. You are rewarded with 200 contribution points. The mushrooms collected count as 20 contribution points. So the total is 220 contribution points. I'm looking at 2 big bags of mushrooms. This stuff can be taken to the recycling station on Bait Street for sale. Although a total of 40 chips can be sold here, the actual price is more than twice that amount. Later I told them that I was going out to replenish supplies. At 5 p.m., 7 will open the elevator for you. Remember to return to the shelter on time. If you have any questions, you can ask 7 after I leave. They were discussing Fong Chong after I left, saying that since this mushroom is so precious and grows in such a dangerous environment, but it only has 20 contribution points. Haven't you noticed the problem? Normally, the rewards for players' tasks should be proportional to the difficulty of the tasks. Logically, you shouldn't only receive such a small amount of contribution points. It seems that tasks are divided by priority. The things we do in the afternoon are tasks that NPC administrators have accepted and released after adopting our feedback. So as long as we meet the needs of the shelter and complete tasks, we can earn contribution points, and the points earned are also proportional. But the thinking of the NPC administrator is simply terrifyingly advanced. Maybe that guy is actually being played by a real person. There might be a earth-shattering plan hidden behind this. I play the Wasteland game NPC. I was actually discovered by the players. Just now Fong Chong felt that as an NPC my thoughts and actions were too human-like, so it's very likely that I was impersonated by a real person. Yi-Tin trembled at the thought. Could he want to use us? Fong Chong, don't worry. Even if so, he hasn't harmed us. He has even saved us before. What I care most about now is how to increase the NPC's favorability before the second round of closed beta testing. Later, they joined hands and shouted, to ensure that we have a higher starting point than other players in the future, let's team up. Yi-Tin looked puzzled. How should we team up? Fong Chong explained. Next, we will share our intelligence and play to our strengths. Subsequently, he instructed Storm and Yi-Tin to scout along the lake shore of Wetland Park and mark out the areas where potential dens were found. Yi-Tin, on the other hand, looked disdainful. This guy really sees himself as the captain. Fong Chong and White Horse then went to chop trees together. Soon it was dusk, and on the other side of Bait Street, it was quite lively. Only to see a pair of black silk stockings that were so tattered and a woman with handcuffs walking by. It turns out that these are slaves bought by the mayor of Bait Street. Old Charles quickly stepped forward to welcome the visitors, who turned out to be Leader Lister from Megastone City, the Lister trading caravan. When I arrived here I saw the scene before me, and there was Lister again. And he also brought the legendary products cultivated in the Petri dish cloned humans. Since the caravan from Megastone City is here, it's possible that this mushroom could find a good buyer if we go over there now. They are about to leave soon. He was stopped by me. Leader Lister, do you have time? I have something you want here. Lister was stunned after hearing this and asked who I was. Seeing the other party pick up the gun, I raised my hand and said, I have no ill intentions, I just want to make a deal. However, I was laughed at by them. Make a deal? You like this want to deal with us? Afterwards, I put down 2 big bags of mushrooms and said, Are you sure you don't want this stuff, Lister? He immediately became interested and asked me the price of this thing. I nervously said, I want 200 chips for this. The other party agreed without hesitation. It seems like the price offered was too low. After this group of unscrupulous merchants recycle these items, they definitely sell them at a price at least 10 times higher. In the end, he guessed my thoughts too and asked if I wanted to buy some equipment or something, definitely cheaper than what Bait Street sells. I do want to buy a guy who can shoot. He snaps his fingers. He quickly brought a .38 snub-nose revolver and handed it to me. I gestured with it in my hand, and he wanted to charge me 200 chips for it. I asked him to lower the price and he almost hit me. Later I smirked and said, I can find more mushrooms than just these few. You should think about that. After hearing this, he carefully weighed the pros and cons. He then reached out to shake hands and expressed his hope that we could work together happily in the future. Of course, happy cooperation. After all, you tricked me today, I will definitely pay you back tenfold another day. If you traveled to a world where monsters ran rampant, how would you construct your own refuge and develop your own influence? I am bargaining with unscrupulous merchants in order to expand the equipment for the refuge. Even if I am being exploited to the point of vomiting blood, I can only say thank you, Leader Lister, because my power is not strong enough yet. He is afraid that I will be eaten by monsters while collecting mushrooms. He is worried that it will delay his fortune. He tells me how dangerous the monster dens are. But I have long been familiar with the characteristics of the exotic leech. At this moment he pats my shoulder. He instructed, hoping that when I come at the end of the month, I could see you and guarantee the 40 pounds of mushrooms we agreed on. The total price is counted as 2,000 chips. As for the equipment you want, just place an order with me when the time comes. Then he snapped his fingers. His subordinate brought a tablet for me to choose from. I looked at the equipment being sold on the tablet. There are quite a few good items from this crafty merchant. This is the generator I have been wanting to get. The price unexpectedly is 1,200. After that, I also selected a set of powered exoskeleton equipment with a generator, which happens to be the 2,000 chips I will earn from selling mushrooms next month. Then I returned the tablet to him. After he looked at the items I wanted to purchase, he said to me, "These two things are not something an ordinary scrapper can afford. If the people in the town see them, how will you explain it?" I reassured him that I had no intention of taking him back to Bates Street. He looked disdainful. How I handle it is none of my business. When he is discovered later, I won't admit that I sold you out. After that he will leave. A caravan where I can't be seen behind, I am flipping them off. Soon as the night falls I won't return to the shelter, right? When I arrived on Bates Street, because caravan was just bustling, citizens were bargaining with old Charles to get goods more cheaply. They almost exhausted old Charles. At this moment a man raised a sign and shouted, "This is the mayor's mobilization order. Listen up everyone. By the end of the month, each household needs to pay 100 kilograms of wood and 2 pieces of fur." The citizens discussed it with divergent opinions after hearing this. I also secretly pondered in my heart. It seems the mayor plans to sell everyone's supplies to the caravan for a prosperous year. However, this has nothing to do with me. I will leave here before winter. Before long I arrived at my doorstep, but ahead of me Little Fish was arguing with Wang Durfu, the third son of the Wang family. It turns out that Wang Durfu thought I had been missing for several days and believed that I was dead, so he wanted to move things out of my house. Little Fish got into a dispute with him in order to stop him. Little Fish angrily shouted, "Big brother is not dead." Wang Durfu still doesn't want to give up. He still wants to share the loot from my house with Little Fish, but Little Fish pointed at him and told him to get lost. He saw that Little Fish was unyielding, so he gritted his teeth. He was about to throw a punch at Little Fish. I walked up at this moment and grabbed his hand. "Did you just say I died earlier?" Little Fish looked happy when he saw me coming back. That guy wants to tear down Big Brother's house, and not only that, he also wants to hit me. After hearing this, I immediately pushed Wang Durfu away. I comfortingly held Little Fish in my arms. "With me here, no one can bully you." "Colleague," I threatened him, "Little Wang, are you planning to leave on your own or should I ask you to leave?" Next my hand reached for the steel pipe on my back. He was so scared that he started stuttering. He disappeared in a flash. Later Little Fish said thank you to me. I felt a little embarrassed. It's nothing, just helping each other out. But in my heart, I wondered why Little Fish kept staring at me. Seeing this, I handed her a lollipop, and Little Fish flew up happily. "Seems like you want to have the lollipop. But you are quite loyal. Let this lollipop be a reward for you." At this moment, Little Fish's father and 2 brothers came back. They saw Little Fish waving to her. Little Fish's heart trembled, so she quickly ran back to her own home. I was a bit puzzled. Could it be that her parents don't allow her to interact with me? They walked past me, but only Little Fish's second brother, Yu Tiger, turned his head and looked at me. He said, "These few days when you were not around I thought you were dead. It seems your intuition is not very accurate." Then he narrated to me about what had just happened in the town. He said that the Lee family had found a herd of deer and traces of migration in the northern woods. He asked me to try my luck over there. Maybe we can not only get fur but also meat. But I refused. I thought they were going north to hunt, and my shelter happens to be there. I hope we don't run into each other by then. At this point, he also realized that I am a capable person and mentioned that the Wang family might cause trouble for me. Then he used his clever brain to come up with a solution. That is to marry his sister, Little Fish, to me, and he mentioned that if I was in a hurry, we could have the wedding tonight. After hearing this, I immediately ran back home. What a joke to let me marry a little girl. The scene of Little Fish marrying me inevitably came to mind. It's quite embarrassing. Although Little Fish is indeed cute, I cannot accept it either. After I finished explaining the mission to the players at the shelter, I came alone to Bates Street and flirted with the Lolitas. And players are still worrying about the wood that was just chopped down. Although enough wood has been harvested in the past 2 days to build the north and west sides of the sanatorium, the untreated wood will soon rot again if it rains. Fong Chong asks how to handle it, but for White Horse, who has moved bricks before, this is a piece of cake. For example, you can dry the moisture in the wood by baking it. Alternatively, you can paint both ends of the wood with paint and let the wood air dry naturally. Or you can also soak it in water. At this moment, Fong Chong thought that this wasteland was full of concrete debris everywhere. White Horse replied after listening, "The premise is that we need to have cement in order to mix those debris and cement together as construction materials." Yi Tin and Storm returned while they were still discussing. They said they made a major discovery. Yi Tin placed a bucket containing something on the ground. He took out a map and was about to show them his findings. The crosses on the map are the monster dens they have explored, while the circles represent safe areas. What is in the barrel that Fong Chong brought? Storm said this mud looks like it could be used as building material, so he brought it back. At this time, White Horse realized that this thing could be used to make a kiln, but this amount of mud is far from enough. White Horse asked them to bring back a few more buckets, while he and Fong Chong continued to chop down trees. On the other side, Storm and Yi Tin were being chased by a two-headed bear. Suddenly, Storm tripped and fell to the ground. Seeing that he was about to be eaten by the alien species, I was startled awake. Turned out to be just a dream. Just then I heard Little Fish's voice outside the door, asking if I was home. I then walked out of the room and asked him if there was something he needed. Just then Little Fish took out a cookie wrapped in paper and said it was a gift for me. I blushed and asked, "Is it for me?" So I took it. Suddenly, Little Fish seemed to be gesturing something to me. I moved my ear closer to her, and she whispered to me that she wanted to tell me a secret. She said that this cookie was made by her second brother himself for me. I was speechless. It seems that her second brother is determined to marry Little Fish to me. Just when we were chatting happily, two uninvited guests came over. They were the eldest son of the family next door, Wang family, and Wang Derfu, who has always had a grudge against me. They didn't say anything and just walked past me. But in my eyes, this was a blatant provocation. After that, I asked Little Fish to go back home. I need to go out. Little Fish asked me to be careful on the way, and she will help me take care of the house, waiting for me to return safely. I patted her head and said thank you. Although Little Fish is still young, but in another 2 years, she should become a young lady. Maybe she really could marry me. In this deceitful wasteland world, even buying a sanitary pad could cost your life. And in order to raise supplies for the winter, I came to the recycling center on Bate Street to purchase. I took out the only 21 chips left on me, found old Charles, and bought 7 kilograms of green wheat and 4 ounces of pickled meat tobacco. He thought with this excess meat, turning it into preserved food to save for winter would be great. After old Charles placed the required 7 kilograms of green wheat I needed on the ground, he then spoke up saying, "It seems like you just bought 5 kilograms of green wheat here yesterday." Upon hearing his words, I was surprised. At this moment, I realized my carelessness. During this period, I haven't sold any scrap materials. Yet I have managed to purchase large quantities of supplies twice in a row. Once the mayor checks the accounts and finds discrepancies, he will suspect that I have been involved in some shady dealings behind the scenes. At that time, he may directly remove me. It seems that old Charles is reminding me, but regardless of whether he has good intentions towards me, in this chaotic world, the only one you can trust is yourself. Before leaving, he thought I needed a cow. He wouldn't be joking with me, would he? It looks like I need to leave this place quickly. When I returned to the sanatorium, I was instantly stunned. What is this thing? There shouldn't be a task to build a furnace on the task board. Fong Chong stepped forward to introduce it to me. In the future, with this furnace and earth kiln, we will be able to produce coarse materials for cement. First, burn the bark into wood ash, add water, stir, filter out the potassium alkali water on the top layer, squeeze out the remaining slurry, remove the water, obtain calcium hydroxide and calcium carbonate. Finally, add the raw materials to the blast furnace, calcine to orange red, then mix with sand brought from the riverbank. Adding water and stirring evenly will yield wood ash cement. I see. I've tried it before, but I got the method wrong. No wonder I couldn't make it before. In addition, the potassium hydroxide filtered out can be used for tanning leather. After Fong Chong finishes speaking, I coughed twice. You guys did a good job this time. After receiving my praise, Fong Chong was so excited that the water in his hands was almost squeezed out. It seems that his favorability must have increased this time. Yi Tin seemed to immediately go for the throat when he saw the situation. This guy actually took all the credit for the team's achievements. In that case, to reward you all, I will give you an extra hand to help. Upon hearing that a new member was coming, they immediately became infatuated. Administrator, please make sure to arrange for a female member. I nod. I will consider your suggestions. Upon hearing this, everyone immediately grabbed their tools and scrambled to chop down trees, seemingly willing to go all out in order to win my favor. Before long, I returned to the shelter. At this moment, the system made a ding sound, triggering another task reward. Then I will receive the 7 reward points. Redeemed it for a basic blind box. This blind box contained 75 lollipops, a piece of chocolate, and a bag of salt. This pitiful reward left me sitting limp in my chair. If only there were more salt, I could use it to cook or make cured meat or sausages. But if I trade this salt, I could at least exchange it for 20 to 30 times the weight of coarse salt. But my current capacity doesn't allow it. You should know that salt is a lucrative business second only to arms trading. It may bring disaster if things go wrong. It's better to focus on building the base honestly for now. Looking at the lively game group chat, several new faces seem unimpressive. Suddenly, one person's remark caught my attention. By dry distillation of wood, filtering through condensed products such as tar, ethanol, acetone and methanol can be obtained from the aqueous solution. This guy has some potential. Isopropanol can be used to make smokeless gunpowder. Later I clicked on his homepage. I immediately sent him an invitation. Because a certain island country was dumping nuclear wastewater recklessly and caused the world to enter the wasteland era, I, in order to survive, used a system to summon sheep from various worlds to come here and rebuild our homeland together in a gaming-like manner. Just now, the shelter is finally about to welcome 2 new sheep. The carpenter in front of us is one of them. When he received my invitation, his face was full of disbelief, and he immediately asked me if there were any procedures to follow after making an appointment. I told him to send me the appointment number. Just as I was thinking that now we have a carpenter, what else the outpost was missing, perhaps some sheep. The carpenter informed everyone in the group about getting the qualification for the closed beta testing. The group of sheep were immediately not happy. I made the reservation first, why should he get it? This guy can really show off. Looks like I have to pacify the group of out-of-control little sheep in the group again. So I explained that the game is still in the beta testing phase, and we urgently need some players with special domain knowledge to act as guinea pigs. There will be 100 game qualifications released in a few more days. After I comforted them, I thought since the base's food supply is enough to eat anyway, why not recruit another chef? Next, I asked in the group if the game is still lacking a chef. Everyone, please show off your skills. The little lambs in the group immediately started to show off. How the hell am I supposed to choose? Who doesn't know how to cook 2 dishes and a soup these days? It's easy as long as you have hands. Just then, an online friend showed off the trophies and certificates they had earned after practicing for 2.5 years. I immediately extended an invitation. Before long, 7 hurriedly found me and said that they only had 1 bar of battery left. Where can I find a place to charge your device for you? 7 explains that he has a wireless charging port on his body, so he can stay in the shelter for a while. So I picked him up and said, I'll take you to charge up now. On the way as I took him to charge up, he remembered that the power system of the shelter seems to be powered by a new fusion reactor. After hearing this, on the surface I looked surprised. In fact, my heart was already filled with joy. I need to figure out a way to steal the electricity inside. Later, he went on to say that it is now the year 2340. The year the refuge was built is too far in the past. What if the electricity runs out? 7 scratches his head and says he doesn't know. Because according to the plan, this shelter should have opened 100 years ago, but for some reason, it was delayed for a whole century. But there is no need to be pessimistic. Just unlock the 3rd level power room of the shelter and replace the fuel rod, and everything will be fine. It's easy for you to say. Where the hell am I supposed to find a fuel rod? I will set 7 down after arriving at the shelter. 7, you can charge here. However, there should be no issue with the battery in the short term. On the other hand, I am more concerned about the upcoming cold winter. It seems that I don't have much time left to prepare. Returning to the ground, I was stunned by their actions. Several people neatly lined up 8 carbon stoves, and Old Bai saw the administrator approaching right away, eagerly trying to improve their favorability. Dawnlight is very satisfied with their creative imagination. He said that the organization will remember your contributions, and will recognize the credit for unlocking the cement building materials. I rewarded Yi-10 Storm and Old Bai with plus 1,000 Old Bai each, and appointed them as the 404th Shelter Construction Team Leader at this outpost. You are free to use your creativity to design and build our outpost within the planned scope. Respected Administrator, I will do my best to construct our home Dawnlight. I am pleased with Old Bai's attitude. Yi-Ten is quite envious of Old Bai getting a position so quickly. After all, they are players from the same batch. Dawnlight asked Old Bai to report on the upcoming plans. Old Bai said that after logging off yesterday, he conducted on-site research at a cement factory in the real world. The master at the factory said that by adding iron powder to cement, a higher strength and more durable cement can be obtained. Since there is rusted iron everywhere here, I mixed the collected rust with charcoal, using the charcoal as a reducing agent to produce iron through smelting. Then I burned the iron powder obtained together with wood ash cement using several earthen kilns. It's impossible to produce large quantities of cement with just these kilns, so I plan to invest all the cement produced in the early stage into the construction of production facilities to further increase cement production. The idea is good, but how much cement can be produced just by using tree bark? That's why we need more professional cement kilns that can generate temperatures of 1450 degrees Celsius. In this way, we can produce calcium carbonate cement by calcining limestone and clay, completely replacing the raw materials of grass and wood ash. Dawnlight is very satisfied with his arrangement. He allows Old Bai to do it completely according to his own ideas. And he also mentioned that 2 members will be waking up from hibernation and joining your team in the near future. He plans to hold a small banquet to welcome them. Need to get some game meat back. He said it's too embarrassing to just serve porridge. Everyone raised their hands one after another, expressing their willingness to go hunting with the administrator. Dawnlight ignored their enthusiasm and simply called on Yi-Ten from the perception department to follow. Yes, sir. Administrator, at your service. Before leaving the shelter to go hunting, I had Yi-Ten take me to the lair of mutated leeches where we found the Dawnlight mushrooms inside. I sighed in relief that they didn't go deeper, otherwise they would have surely received a 3-day cooldown. Knowing the location, Dawnlight called Yi-Ten and we left. Today our target is not here. Yi-Ten asked curiously why we weren't hunting in the forest. Dawnlight drew his sword and entered combat mode. The forest is just ahead. Yi-Ten was very puzzled. Springwell City is located in the northern outskirts, entering the wasteland era 200 years ago. The city is completely covered by plants. Dawnlight warns that monsters can appear at any time from now on. Stay alert and vigilant. The city has become a paradise for fungi and plants, and wild animals have gradually taken over the city. They have evolved into fierce mutants under the triple effect of radioactive substances, genetic weapons, and the passage of time, collectively known as variants. The dangers here are far beyond just the variants. It is unexpected to encounter such terrifying things. I'm finally about to encounter the new monsters in the game. It's so exciting. Yi-Ten found the new map very intriguing and kept looking around in Dawnlight. He felt helpless towards the newbies and insisted that they must stick close to him. Just then something happened. The sound of rustling. Dawnlight made a gesture to signal a stop. Yi-Ten didn't know what happened. There are traces of survivor activities. Other survivors? Are the indigenous people on the wasteland going to meet other NPCs at last? You don't have to be so excited. This is not something worth being happy about. Why? Because in a place like this, strangers are more dangerous than mutants. Excessive sulfur gunpowder, as well as nails and iron pieces, indicate that there may be mutants or raiders nearby. Typically, survivors won't deploy improvised landmines near settlements. It is difficult to harm sensitive alien creatures with this kind of thing. In other words, it's meant for humans. From the residual smell, the explosion time should not be long, at most 5 hours or even less. When you came out from underground, did you hear the sound of an explosion coming from the east? Yi-Ten thought for a moment and said no. You let him wait there for a moment. I will investigate the situation ahead. Yi-Ten also wants to go with administrator to check. Dawnlight just glared angrily. Yi-Ten was so scared that he stood still and didn't dare to move. Originally came out to let this chive to be a bait, now thinking forget it. There is a high possibility that the opponent is a raider or mutant tribe. Bait is meaningless and may startle the snake instead. The shelter is too close, especially with the leaks here engaging in large-scale production. The smoke and noise they generate will eventually be discovered by the people here. Keeping these dangers is always a hidden danger. Once they may pose a threat, I will not hesitate to take the first move. Ignorant of life and death. There are only about 20 of them. It doesn't seem to be a rat's nest. A few more of these creatures will make it difficult to deal with. That is survivor shelter. Survivor shelters can be roughly divided into 2 types. One type is living directly in houses that were not destroyed before the war. The other type is to start from scratch in the ruins or open spaces, depending on the surrounding conditions. These mutant humans are probably around 2 meters tall and weigh over 300 pounds. They eat everything: fruits, flies, rats, cockroaches, and their favorite food is actually their former peers. That's the two-legged sheep, human. Sure enough, I knew there would be mutant sentinels. Just now, continuing to move forward would have been ambushed by mutant sentinels. There are too many obstacles blocking the way, making it impossible to see how many people are inside. Judging from the size of this camp, the number of people should be no less than 20. These guys are not easy to deal with. Suddenly issued a mission to exterminate the mutant tribe located on Street 76. Type side quest. Reward: 200 reward points. Receiving such a task, I am really being treated unfairly. Isn't this asking me to send myself to death? Missions can also be triggered outside the shelter. The system cannot be opened. It seems that the system can only be opened near the shelter, but missions can still be triggered. The 200-point reward is quite impressive. Side quests that require summoning 100 players usually only give 100 points, so the fact that this quest gives 200 points indicates that it's not easy to complete. Yi-Ten, who follows closely behind, is still asking if there are any discoveries. It is the mutant camp. So, are we just going to leave like this? Or should we fight with them? Lose and get thrown into the oil pot? Use your brain. We only have one gun, and maybe only one person who can shoot. Just now my brain didn't make the connection. I thought the mutants were NPCs in this game. Now listening to what the administrator said, these mutants should be a hostile faction and they even eat people. Provoking those beasts now is not a good idea. We need to be more prepared and focus our efforts on eliminating them. Once and for all. Damn bad luck. The mutant camp is right across the east gate of Street 6 Park. Anyway, we need to be careful. Go back and get. Isn't this limestone? Turn all this limestone into cement. Building 2 buildings is not a problem. As long as Old By unlocks the production of calcareous cement, the future looks promising. On the way back, Dawnlight casually brought back 2 mutated dogs, which will provide us with several meals. In comparison to the food situation, I have one piece of good news and one piece of bad news. Everyone eagerly asked about the good news. I will communicate through the game. Bring someone with a unique skill from the original world to the shelter and work with me to complete the system reconstruction mission in Wasteland World. Old By approached and asked if there was any good news. I mentioned that there is an unfinished construction site in the southeast of the park, and there are plenty of limestone and handcarts left there. Old By is very happy that he has the most important raw material for cement now. Fong Chong is more concerned about what the bad news is. Proceed along 76th Street in front of the east gate of Wetland Park, where there is a mutant camp with no fewer than 20 people. Yi-Ten is still introducing on the side. Mutants are a hostile force with strong combat capabilities. The key point is their attribute of cannibalism. We must be careful with Dawnlight, who also mentioned that the mutant's level is above 10. With your current strength, going over there would just be a waste. Therefore, everyone is prohibited from operating nearby until the threat over there is handled properly. To avoid exposing our current position, everyone agreed, but I found myself looking at the prey on the ground, reminded of the meal I had on Bates Street. I just don't know how to deal with it. I also recalled my life of picking up garbage in the first 5 months. I didn't learn any hunting experience during that time. Recalling the process of handling livestock, it is necessary to bleed them first. But as a city dweller, I am really lacking in this area of knowledge. At this point Storm came to me. He asked me for the blood of the prey. He said he wanted to verify something. I didn't say a word and chopped off a dog's thigh and handed it to Storm. Storm was shocked by my rough operation. The setting sun, one after another charcoal kiln still hard at work. Old By found me and reported that the cement kiln at the outpost has been completed and will be air-dried tomorrow. They can start burning the first batch of cement soon. I am very satisfied with their work. I did not praise them as the hope of human revival. The organization will remember your contribution. Old By feels that his contributions are increasing rapidly, turning around and continue his own 997 life. Dawnlight is also very satisfied with his current ability to paint cakes. But in my opinion, these people seem to not care about my cake drawing. They have found joy in the process of rebuilding the amusement park. This is just like a sandbox game. Watching the home gradually improve is also part of the fun. Of course I'm happy that these players can enjoy themselves. After all, the shelter is really poor. I'll draw some pie charts first, distribute some air coins and see how they react. Let's first take a look at how the Earth's little leaks are doing. Watching Yi10 promoting the game wholeheartedly. There are two newbies about to join and show off in the group. A group of people are still envious and jealous. Watching as some people still don't believe this. Completely immersive virtual reality online games are also quite helpless. Just remembered that Fong Chong hasn't been active in the group for a long time. He must have gone to the official website forum. He is checking to see if there are any new articles. Sure enough, Fong Chong is really helpful in time of need. He promoted the game once again. The article talked about insights from the 3 days online, as well as the sense of achievement from completing tasks and the new chapters released now. I look at the loyal fans inside. I'll just write it down when I think about it. Recruit these people first in the future recruitments. Another simple and unadorned day. The system looks at the sparse task points. I choose to be a lucky moment. Blind boxes are forever gods. Bang. Looking at the floor full of lollipops. System, you camper. You only know how to produce garbage goods, right? Wait a moment. What on earth is this glowing lollipop? Chocolate-flavored lollipop, reinforced. Seems quite powerful. System, I finally stopped being a big complainer. Power increased by 10%. It's really high-tech. The duration is actually 10 hours. When fighting monsters, this increase in power is sure to turn the tide of the battle. But whenever I think about taking out a lollipop while fighting monsters, why do I keep thinking about this edgy stuff over and over again? Forget it, after all, it's my trump card. I'll keep it for now and talk about it later. Transport the limestone back after collecting all the cement raw materials. Everyone seems to have an inexhaustible amount of energy. Hard work has been put into the making of cement. After the materials are mixed, they are put into a furnace and heated to 1450 degrees Celsius. I eagerly inflated the bellows while operating the blower. I suddenly remembered. We seem unable to confirm the temperature of the kiln. I don't know. I don't know? How can you jerk, say such words? Old Bai feels his dignity is being threatened. He retorted to Fong Chong. Find me an industrial thermometer first before you speak. Fong Chong exclaimed that this guy was getting closer and closer to being a foreman. Where did Storm and Yi10, those two animals, run off to? I watched as the two leaks ran towards me, each holding 2 buckets. They explained to me that they went to visit a leech's nest. I feel very angry because I repeatedly warned them about the danger over there. But they hurriedly explained that they didn't venture deep into the nest, only set up traps nearby, and showed me the results of their efforts this time. I looked at the bucket full of mutant leech larvae, one by one wriggling in the bottle. I am very curious how you capture so many leeches. I remember that these leeches seem inedible after all, as there are too many parasites. Yi10 arrogantly mentioned the method of using blood to catch leeches, while Storm said that these mutant leeches should be foraging at night and returning to their nests during the day. These are all our gains from this time. We originally just wanted to give it a try, but unexpectedly, the results turned out to be surprisingly good. I am very satisfied with their adaptation to the rhythm of wasteland life. Thinking back to their request for blood yesterday, it turns out they were just trying to catch leeches. Storm said we are planning to try fishing. That's a good idea. Because I noticed a big black bird catching fish by the lake before. Since there are fish in the lake, we can totally obtain food by fishing. I couldn't help but clap my hands in praise, but when I thought of my own fishing skills, my face turned red. There is another thing. The fish in the lake are all mutated species. Even with professional fishing gear, success is not guaranteed. Don't say that everything is not available now. I asked if you know how to fish in a storm. I came up with a solution and said I could make some fishing traps. Seeing their ingenuity, I didn't say much and let them go ahead and do it. I watched them leave happily. I also turned around to deal with the hyena meat. Yesterday I followed the method of the Bait Street survivors, crushing the tobacco leaves wrapped in the meat, and then slowly roasting them over firewood. This allows the tar-rich ketolic compounds in the leaves to seep into the fat layer of the meat, killing parasites and microorganisms. Is this my illusion? Why does it smell so bad? I think this is how food should be, but why is it turning black and has a faint smell of decay? Where did things go wrong exactly? This is what I thought immersive games would be like. I didn't expect it to be like this. A new member that everyone has been eagerly anticipating has arrived. Do you know what their identity is? Dawnlight is still competing with them. Alas, it still didn't work. The smoked meat is so bad even the dogs won't eat it. If only there was a refrigerator. For the generator. He must get his hands on the blue umbrella mushroom. But it's only the second week of September now. Lister's caravan won't arrive in this area until the end of the month. It's pointless to think about these things now. We can't possibly wait until the end of the month to start stocking up on food. Moreover, a luxury like a refrigerator is a bit too expensive for a shelter. Let's just think about it. In order to welcome 2 new players, we still need to hunt more meat. I will go back at noon or in the afternoon to cook a pot of meat for the players. After researching smoked meat for such a long time, progress is still not going very smoothly. The reward points are only 7 points. Although Lingy can also make it up to 10 points after some consideration, I decided to put all my chips on the junior blind box. This time it's finally not a lollipop. It's not bad to open a bottle of soy sauce. Thinking about putting some soy sauce on the meat. Those 4 animals will definitely be very excited. Every meal is the most painful time for them. I'm about to vomit from eating stewed dishes every day. At first I was quite excited to find out that this game involves eating. But now I realize how painful eating can be. Every meal is either stewed meat or porridge cooked with barley. Even if my mouth can handle it, my butt can't take it anymore. It's probably that my taste system has not fully developed yet. Even if the salt is put less, it shouldn't taste like this. Neither salty nor bland, just greasy and even a bit bitter. It's not as good as cooking porridge with green wheat. The fishy taste is too strong. You have to use cooking wine, green onions, ginger and garlic to blanch and get rid of the fishy taste. It'll probably improve. Just make do with it for now. It's not easy to find those ingredients in the wasteland. There will definitely be delicious food in the future. Since becoming the construction team leader, this jerk has become more and more inclined to consider things from the perspective of game developers. He even takes the initiative to help paint a rosy picture. But that's indeed true. Since the selling point is authenticity, there is nothing wrong with positioning the condiments as luxury goods. Maybe in the future you will have to pay to enjoy it. I hope that the next update can include the condiments. I can spend Chinese yuan to buy them. I'm thinking about how to improve the fishing traps. Can Chinese yuan buy ready-made fishing gear? It seems like this topic has been talked about to death. Yi-Ten immediately asked how your cement burning is going. Old Bai was so happy that his nose was in the sky. I feel like success is just around the corner. Is this real or fake? Where is there real or fake? Recently, Fong Chong and I have been researching brickmaking. It's just that the mold is somewhat lacking in meaning. Can't we use wood to make the mold? Aha, you think it's that simple. There is still a difference between clumsiness and skill. I never imagined that a grand high-level player, a hardcore survival master in the forest, who can build a house in just half an hour. I was actually tripped up by such a basic issue in this game. In the end, it's that the game is designed too realistically. Fong Chang's words are indeed correct. In recent days, I have also been learning from the survival on a deserted island in short videos and have made end traps. But I haven't caught a single fish. Come to think of it, these mutated fish probably have different intelligence compared to regular fish. They are all very clever. As soon as they eat the bait, they run away. Ate up most of my leeches. Forget it, let's fatten up the fish in the lake first. Maybe when the fish relax their guard, I can catch them. By the way, I heard that a new member seems to be joining in these 2 days. I really hope that 2 female players will join to liven up the team atmosphere. Based on my perception ability of the sensing system, I faintly feel that the one coming must be a beauty. Dang dang dang, is she finally coming? Let me introduce these 2. They are our new members. Tomato egg stir fry. Holy crap, a mosquito. I don't believe it. Where are the girls you promised? To restore the civilization of the entire human race. I summoned people from the original world to the shelter through a game. Let them help me complete the system tasks to rebuild the wasteland world. After 4 players successfully logged in, we will welcome 2 more players, Dawnlight, to introduce the new members to everyone. Tomato egg stir fry. Holy crap, a mosquito. Let's all welcome it. Looking at the 2 men coming again, everyone is really heartbroken. 2 new players exclaimed that this game is too realistic, watching the delicious food boiling in the pot. It makes people unable to help but walk in to observe. The strong, wet and hot meat aroma hits you in the face. This game is too realistic, isn't it? Old Bai looked at the newbies with a rare look of surprise. What attributes do all of you have? I am Agile type. I am Constitution type. You all have already started eating. Originally, the administrator intended to hold a welcome ceremony. But it looks like it didn't go well. You've just woken up, right? Let's have something too. This thing looks like toxic poop, but it's the first time I've eaten something in a game. At most I'll just die and respawn. This game actually has taste sensation. Awesome. This game can really eat meals. More than just being able to eat meals. Not eating meals will lead to low blood sugar. But I feel it doesn't need to be this realistic. The maid outfit that I have been longing for. Tomato is really worried about their diet when looking at this dark cuisine. What kind of meat is this? Actually, none of us knows what kind of meat it is. Mutant hyena, try it. Why does it taste so gamey? Did you not bleed it properly? I swear we had no idea. This food was provided by the NPC. If you can cook, you can talk to administrator about it. Having a special skill will definitely be valued and put to good use. Really? Then I should give it a try. Mosquito immediately claimed to be a carpenter. Does it have any other professions of its own? Old Boy heard about carpentry. He is like seeing dawnlight in the dark night. Do you really know carpentry? Yes, my family sells furniture. All pure wood handmade. If you're interested, you can add me on Instagram. I can give you a discount. Old Bai and Fong Chong setting up the mosquito net is great. I happen to need someone to make molds here. Can you come help me? The mosquito, looking at the delicious food moving away from itself, is very reluctant. What's the point of eating this thing? Why not have the chef make another pot in the afternoon? Exactly, brother, listen to my advice. This thing really doesn't taste good. Do you want us to first familiarize you with the gameplay of this game? Mosquitoes wouldn't be brought by them. Is this game really serious? It's okay, more or less. Anyway, I think so. The unofficial content has not been launched yet. Why are you all using questions? Well, finally got access to the closed beta. Let's take a look before making any decisions. Your wood processing is not good. Look at this. It's sprouting mushrooms almost. This new guy called Mosquito. His woodworking skills are indeed good. Is this enough? Enough, thanks bro, you helped a lot. You're welcome. Feel free to contact me anytime if you need help. With this mold, the bricks look much better. This is a decent furnace. I'm so tired. Do you think this thing can work out? Be more confident. Remove the question mark. Original World's 5-star chef. I originally came to enjoy the real person VR maid service. He didn't expect him to work 9 to 9 7 days a week in the original world. Coming to Wasteland World became a 0 to 0 7 days a week pain. Who can understand this, brothers? The two looked at their masterpiece. Although they were still unsure about success. Let's leave it to time. The two of them walked arm in arm and were still discussing the plans for improvements. On the other side, Mosquito and Yiten were showing off their new fishing device. I replaced the original cylindrical structure with a cage-like structure. With your improved version of the fishing device, no matter what kind of fish, once they come in, they won't be able to leave. Let's go. The brothers and I are going fishing. Seeing how hard the leaks are working, I think I should also work hard to get this bacon done. At this time, tomato egg stir-fry walked in. I remember that this guy seems to be a chef who graduated from New Oriental School. Smoking meat must be no challenge for him. On this note, I am honored to become chef number 404 with tomato egg stir-fry. And I expressed that due to the approaching winter, and there will be another 100 compatriots arriving later. I need your help. Thinking of tomato egg stir-fry. In the original world of 997, meaning work 9 to 9 7 days a week life, I really clashed with the chef, didn't I? Oh, since you're here, let's just give it a try. What can I do for you? I need you to make bacon for me as well as address storage issues. Tomato says this is a game. I'll give it a try first. Very well, as a professional, take a look at my smoked meat, shall we? What do you mean by take a look at my smoked meat? Does this dark charred thing have anything to do with smoked meat at all? Tomato points out that smoking meat first requires roasting in a sealed environment. If you roast like this and burn the outside, it won't work. Also, what spices are on this meat? This is a special type of smoking leaf. Due to the scarcity of salt in the wasteland, locals use this type of smoking leaf, which is rich in aromatic compounds and tar, as a substitute for salt. They crush it and sprinkle it on meat to act as a preservative. The game is just a game. This operation is really cool. But can this thing really be eaten? It won't be directly harmful, right? After hearing Dawnlight's instructions, Tomato, for the sake of his own life, immediately said that it's actually not necessary to add salt when curing meat. Just leave this to me. I rely on you can do it without adding salt. Really eye-opening. Microorganisms need moisture to survive. Smoking meat is essentially about removing the water content from the meat, achieving a dehydrating effect. The addition of salt does make it even better. It can prolong the storage time and enhance the flavor, but if it's not available, as long as the process is done correctly, it can still work. But if the fat content is high, dehydration can be more troublesome. But no matter what, it needs to be done under sealed conditions. Dawnlight thought that without tobacco they could save a lot of money. But the people on Bait Street have been living in the wasteland for so long, they shouldn't make mistakes with these survival skills, right? Let's leave professional matters to the professionals. Dawnlight entrusted this glorious task to Tomato. Feels great to have leeks to harvest. Now there's progress on the food front. Should we also start satisfying the spiritual needs of the team members? After all, as a ruthless boss, it's not good for me to constantly hype up my subordinates every day. And just relying on these few hands, it might not even be possible to finish building the nursing home's wall by the end of the month. Just then, the voices of Old Bai and Fong Chong could be heard. Damn, we finally made it. They walked up and called out to me. They asked me to come and see their results. This really took me by surprise. They actually managed to produce Portland cement. I am the administrator from Wasteland World. Due to long-term missions, players have accumulated a lot of contributions. I plan to distribute rewards through a gacha machine system, consuming the contributions of the little leaks. Old Bai showed me the freshly made cement he just produced. Since this was a trial firing, they didn't produce much in this batch. Processing half a ton a day is not a problem. It can't compare with professional equipment, but it's sufficient for our basic needs. Two people explained that in order to get the furnace temperature up to 1450 degrees, they almost developed superhuman arm strength from the effort. I acknowledge their achievement. I believe that with the cement, we've made a significant step forward in the first phase of the plan, and awarded each of them 1,000 contribution points as a reward. They jumped for joy right on the spot. There was joy over the reward and delight in the fruits of their hard work. Fong Chong thought about waiting until he had earned a small goal of 100 million. He was determined to experience everything he hadn't had the chance to in the real world. And I was thinking that recently I've given the players a lot of currency. Inflation is rising too quickly, which isn't good. It could shorten the game's lifespan. Should I introduce some kind of special package or bundle? That's a good idea. Introducing a special package or bundle could help absorb excess contribution points, which would help control inflation and extend the game's lifespan. Exactly. By offering attractive packages or bundles, players will be more motivated to work hard and contribute, which in turn helps maintain a balanced economy and prolongs the game's appeal. That's a creative idea. Introducing a wasteland-themed gacha machine could add excitement and encourage players to spend their contribution points, helping to manage the in-game economy while keeping engagement high. Including a maid character as a reward could indeed boost player motivation and add a unique appeal to the game's offerings. Setting the cost at 1,000 contribution points per draw is a strategic move. It encourages active participation and contribution point accumulation, ensuring a steady circulation and recovery of points within the game's economy. Fong Chong stepped forward to report. The outpost construction requires additional manpower. Old Bai stepped forward to discuss the division of labor. The cement kiln requires manual air blowing for combustion. 2 people can operate one kiln on a rotating shift. We will soon build a second one. That will require 4 people. At least 4 people are needed to transport stone materials from the construction site. For the remaining tasks like building walls and constructing houses, it would require at least 8 or more people. That would require at least 16 people. The current food reserves at the outpost, it's only enough to feed 7 people, including myself, for a week. The population has suddenly doubled, and I'm not sure if logistics can handle it. It's already the 9th, and nearly a third of September has passed. If I don't push myself harder, it will be difficult to complete the outpost before winter arrives. I had no choice but to reluctantly agree. I'll express that I will apply to the higher-ups. In 3 days, a new group of members will awaken from hibernation to join the cause on the surface. Old Bai and Fong Chong are both very happy to have new members join. Old Bai is thinking about the new members. The infrastructure work becomes much simpler. And Fong Chong is thinking about the game settings. The authority of NPCs is indeed extraordinary, even capable of influencing the progress of the game's closed beta. Could it be like the fantasy settings in early online gaming novels? The game runs on a supercomputer with infinite computing power. The game company sets the worldview framework, while the content is entirely dynamically generated by AI. Perhaps Wasteland OL is exactly this kind of game. Mission accomplished. Mosquito looks at what he has just finished. A toilet that doesn't cut your butt. Tomato stepped forward to praise Mosquito's extraordinary craftsmanship. He also mentioned that his legs were almost broken from squatting these past few days. In the distance, Storm, who was in urgent need of a restroom, came running over. Both eagerly stepped forward to promote the first toilet in Wasteland World. Storm, who has a strong aversion to germs, expressed disgust at the idea of a public toilet, turned around and dashed towards the bushes to relieve himself on the spot. Tomato was speechless, thinking, even taking a leak in a game has to be this particular? Just then Yi-Tin's shout came through the dust. He was running towards me, holding a catfish several times bigger than himself, having a master chef in Wasteland World. What a blissful experience that would be. Tomato stared with a pale face. Yi-Tin wielded the massive object, instantly flung it right in front of me. Yi-Tin, with tears welling up in his eyes, repeated over and over. Finally, we've managed to catch one. After finishing his business, Storm praised Yi-Tin, amazed that he could single-handedly carry the mutated catfish back. Yi-Tin retorted irritably, it's all because you ran back to use the outhouse. Tomato looked down on them for catching only one fish in 3 days, and it was a dead one at that. Hearing Tomato dismiss their achievement, Yi-Tin's 82-year-old phlegm is almost uncontrollable. Do you know how we've been spending these past 3 days? We've been staking out for 3 whole nights. Just when we were about to give up, the trap rope moved. We saw that a prey had taken the bait. Hurriedly stepping forward to grab the rope, looking at the big catch inside the cage. Even if the cage is broken, it's still worth it. Storm excitedly reels in the fish. At that very moment, my incredible perception skill played a tremendous role. It helped us dodge the attack of the giant bird. They watched as the black giant bird was also hunting. This made us even more eager to pull the big fish ashore. But unexpectedly, the fish was incredibly strong. To prevent the big bird from noticing, we had to keep it quiet. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so easy to bring it back. Yi-Tin inquired flatteringly, Tomato, take a look at this thing. Is it edible? Tomato looked at the enormous catfish and exclaimed, wow, this thing must weigh over 100 pounds. He stared at the fish head, large enough to fill a wash basin, unsure where to even begin. Yi-Tin, influenced by the Wasteland World, suggested, why not turn this big catfish into smoked fish? Who the hell uses catfish for smoked fish? This thing has thick fat and a slimy, moisture-retaining surface. It's quite a hassle to handle, and I'm not sure if it can be dehydrated. The two of them looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Tomato helplessly said they would just have to try it out first. Tomato thought about grilled fish. But considering the fish weighed about 100 pounds, he thought about it and decided to give up on the idea. After a long while, Tomato finally decided on a course of action. Ding ding ding. Mutant catfish head stew. Tomato says there's no tofu, scallions, ginger, garlic or cooking wine. Only salt and soy sauce for seasoning. Let's make do with what we have, everyone. Yi-Tin looks at the mutant catfish head stew, thinking it looks quite appetizing. We only have salt and soy sauce for seasoning, so let's make do with what we have. Yi-Tin looks at the catfish soup, which has a good appearance. Several people. Dun Dun starts drinking it right away. Everyone was surprised. It's so delicious. Finally, I get to eat a proper meal. It's been so hard. Everyone is condemning the NPC for previously feeding them pig slop. Arriving at the Wasteland World at 6 p.m., which corresponds to 6 a.m. in the original world, all the players have logged off. I figured it was time to recruit some fresh newcomers to help build the shelter. I tapped away at the keyboard, click-clack, click-clack. Release version update. The number of closed beta testers has been expanded to 30 players. Dawnlight is thinking about their own gameplay. Workhorse Club must be in an uproar right now. As expected, the group is discussing the topic of adding 24 more spots. Players in front of their screens, hurry up and join the discussion. You might just be the next one to be taken advantage of. I am the administrator of Wasteland World 404 Shelter. Following the players' feedback about the shortage of personnel, to better build the shelter, I released 24 beta access codes all at once. Watching the number of reservations continuously rise, I felt both happy and troubled by the difficulty of making choices. In no time, the reservation count increased by 2 more. I was quite puzzled by the sudden surge in traffic, as there shouldn't be that many active users in the group. Additionally, due to system limitations, it is not possible to create multiple accounts on the official website of Wasteland OL. Even changing IP addresses or user agents doesn't work. The reservation eligibility, like the helmet, is tied to the person, not the computer. I clicked into the official website forum, looking at the Workhorse Club with 99 plus chat messages. There's also a netizen named Smoking Cessation, who simply doesn't believe such game settings, repeatedly saying the game is fake and urging everyone not to make reservations. I'm speechless. If we could go to the real world, I really want to give him a beating. Just thinking about it is enough. After reading the information about Workhorse Club, I guess I've come to understand the situation of these newbies. These are all promoted by the big shots in the group chats, making a lot of people search for those with closed beta access. Although the popularity has surged, there are very few people genuinely discussing the game's content. I'm wondering if it's time to appoint a few moderators to help manage the forum. Today's Workhorse Club is really lively. Beep beep. Messages are coming one after another, so bustling. I saw that guy smoking cessation again. I really want to give him a good beating. Just at that moment, I received a message from Fong Chong. Fong Chong saw Brother Duanlight reply to the message. He was very excited. There's something that has been puzzling me, and I'd like to ask for your advice. Regarding the NPC known as Administrator, is it actually played by an employee from your company, or is it? Just asking casually, haha. If it involves corporate secrets or something, just pretend I never asked. No worries, this isn't really considered confidential anyway. Besides, as a junior planner, I wouldn't have access to confidential information anyway. Got it. Please go ahead. Simply put, its existence is quite unique. Special? Wow, that's something. This NPC is definitely not ordinary. Could you elaborate a bit more? He is the first generation of fully artificial intelligence developed by our company. Fully artificial intelligence. This is beyond my knowledge scope, but so impressive. Exactly, it's artificial intelligence that is almost indistinguishable from humans. It possesses self-identity, memory, thought patterns, as well as value orientations and behavioral motivations. Therefore, we have granted it the authority to regulate players, and the responsibility to guide them into the game. Indeed, as I guessed. Damn, I'm a genius. I see. No wonder his decisions can affect your testing progress. Actually, I've already noticed that the content of this game itself has been developed quite thoroughly. That immersive feeling is just like being in a real world. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Even someone as picky as me, I couldn't find a single noticeable bug. If there's one minor flaw, it might just be that there are too few NPCs. So, I thought at the time, is there a possibility that what you're testing isn't actually the game itself, but rather testing the game's AI? Even including the release of the expansion pack Winter is Coming in version Alpha 0.2 was for this purpose. Am I right? Right to the point. Straight to the heart of the matter. I have completely discerned the game developer's intentions. Brother Duanlight. On the surface, you're testing the game. It's just a fully artificial intelligence operating within the game framework. And this expansion titled Winter is Coming is precisely the mysterious company's test of the first-generation fully artificial intelligence. Wow, just wow. This person is truly a talent. Still, his nonsense is more convincing. Seeing that there was no reply for a long time, Fong Chong became even more convinced of his own idea. What else can I do? I can only say it's a pity you're not a screenwriter, and I'll just reply according to your scenario. I think I get what you mean. So the testing progress is indeed affected by the game's storyline development, right? And currently, only the administrator of Vault 404 can advance the storyline, right? After I replied to Fong Chong, he happily thanked me and said he would keep the secret. And I think you don't really need to keep the secret, after all, popularity is important. Is this what they call enterprise-level understanding? I've really learned something new today. But thinking about it, having such a group of people in the shelter really puts my mind at ease. Finally, a girl is about to make her appearance. Are you excited? I am the administrator of Vault 404. To prepare for more severe weather conditions, I have initiated a new chapter. I gathered 6 players and explained the challenges of this winter, emphasizing that every minute, even every second, must be utilized effectively. Everyone must act before the situation becomes completely dire. Prepare for the cold wave. I have issued the task. A list of essential items, required facilities to be completed, and corresponding rewards to be given. Winter is coming. This is fate's test for you. After concluding my impassioned speech, I officially unveiled the prologue to the first expansion since the beta test. Winter is coming. With the launch of this new chapter, the atmosphere at the Vanguard outpost began to shift, much like the game's official website. Even I could sense a growing urgency in the gradually chilling air. The population has surged to 30 people, a full 5-fold increase. The outpost's stockpiled supplies were already tight, and now, to feed the 30 mouths that are about to arrive, I'm busy from morning till night almost every day. I brought along Yi Tin, who specializes in perception. Together we hunt all around. The results of our 3 days' work piled up into a small hill. Tomato exclaimed, "This is going to wear me out," as he followed behind Administrator. Yi-Ten, who was on guard and scouting for enemies, also successfully advanced to level 1. Yi-Ten exclaimed excitedly, "Winning without lifting a finger is just awesome." When the player advanced, I also felt a sense of leveling up. However, the administrator gene sequence is truly too unique. I haven't quite figured out the trick to leveling up yet. I can only rely on the medical examination equipment to confirm that 7, looking at my gene sequence, has indeed shown some growth. On the other side, Old Bai and Fong Chong are also working very hard. They are using the method of burning. They recovered a small amount of iron slag from rusty steel bars, car parts, and other iron-containing scraps by burning, and then added this iron slag into the cement kiln, mixed with crushed limestone and clay for calcination, producing more reliable cement clinker, whether using manual bellows or transporting stones with a two-wheeled cart. Both are heavy manual labor. Therefore, Old Bai also advanced to level 1, and his strength attribute increased by 1 point. Similarly, Fong Chong also advanced to level 1, and the increased attribute corresponds to one's own agility, so the genetic sequence evolves in a direction that is more compatible with oneself. Also, when it comes to upgrades, the most unfortunate one is probably Storm. Among the 4 beta testers, he is still at genetic sequence LVO. Storm has caught quite a few fish using his improved traps, but he's still just a bit short of the experience needed to reach level 1. But he gains experience by trapping and killing mutants. It's far less than what he would gain from killing mutants in direct combat. And the 2 newcomers are equally full of enthusiasm. They have hardly taken a moment's rest these past few days. For example, Mosquito isn't the least bit anxious about upgrading. He continues doing carpentry work, occasionally helping out Old Bai and Fong Chong, or helping Storm repair damaged traps. And aside from these tasks, he also built himself a simple little cabin. It serves as his chemistry lab and storage room. That's why Mosquito has been constantly collecting bottles and jars by the roadside these days, though I have serious doubts about the safety of such a small wooden cabin. But I'm still willing to leverage the player's initiative to create more. Look at how much fun this guy is having. I'm also really glad to have someone like this on my team. Compared to Brother Mosquito's laid-back style, Tomato Egg Stir Fry is probably the epitome of a grind king. He has to take care of meals for several of us. He also has to handle the game I hunt. Skin and Deb won them, facing a shortage of raw materials. This has also left the top chefs from the original world quite troubled. After consulting materials from the original world and conducting numerous experiments, they finally solved the major problem under the premise of not adding anything. He directly hung the cut meat on a steel frame, placed it into a kiln made of clay and adobe bricks, and used charcoal to produce smoke for slow roasting at low heat to dry out the moisture in the meat. He then sealed the entrance with pine branches and leaves. When winter arrived, he wrapped these dried meats in plastic bags or tree bark and buried them directly in the snow. They should remain in good condition until the following spring. It's just that the taste is really not something to be complimented. Apart from that, the skins peeled from the mutated dogs were not wasted by Tomato. Instead, they were collected and used to make leather. The main steps of leather making are soaking, liming, fleshing, deliming, and pickling, tanning, fat liquoring, fixing, and base coating. However, the shelter currently does not require smooth and supple high-end fur. What is needed is merely insulating material for warmth. Tomato asked Old Bai to save all the filtered potash water from burning plant ash for me. For the liquid used on leather, to soak the raw hide stripped from the prey and cleaned. After the hide and tanning agents are fully combined, simply air dry it. This way you get a decent quality piece of leather. However, the workload for one person is still too much. Tomato had no choice but to turn to administrator. He made a request for assistance. He looked at the idle Yi-Ten. Tomato's eyes turned red. You seem to have a lot of free time. Why don't you give me a hand? Just kidding. Isn't it great that I'm just tagging along with the administrator and gaining experience for free? Do you want me to teach you how to cook? No way. What are you so busy for? Dawnlight said helplessly. Yi-Tian needs to help me track prey. At the same time, his perception of danger is crucial, so I can't let him stay to assist you. However, I promise you that your issue will be resolved soon. Reinforcements are already on the way, and will reach the surface very shortly. Tomato could only express helplessness. I really hope the reinforcements arrive soon. Tomato said, I only know how to do basic leather processing. I have no way of making clothes. I reassured Tomato not to worry, as there are talents in this field among the reinforcements this time. The task of making warm clothing can all be entrusted to her. I am the administrator of Vault 404. Today marks the first login for 24 new players. What interesting things might happen to them? Among the 24 new closed beta players I have selected, there's a bit of talent from all walks of life. Not just tailors. Although they may not be experts in any particular field, and there might even be students among them, but they can still be of some use. Besides, I passed the online screening process. I am quite fond of these vibrant and energetic young people. I am still full of confidence in these motivated and energetic players. As long as they work hard enough, sooner or later I'll be able to move into a big house, absolutely solid. September 12th, 6 p.m. Finally, the day the server opens has arrived. These past 3 days have been way too agonizing. Hold your hand, follow the official tutorial, and put on the helmet. Wait. Is it really that simple? Enter the game. He seemed to have stepped into another world. He awoke from the nutrient fluid. Hold your hand and step out of the nutrient fluid. He kept exclaiming. This game is just too realistic. It's just that. What is this weird smell? He turned his head and saw a 2-meter-tall lizard standing in front of him. The two of them stared at each other in a daze. Hold your hand. The lizard was the first to jump up in fright. What the hell is this thing? What the hell thing? I said, who the fuck are you, an NPC? What NPC? I'm Scavenge LVL 99. And who are you? Learned that you are a fellow player from the same batch. Hold your hand. Also introduce their own identity. Damn, you're the newbie who joined the group a few days ago. How come you're so damn ugly? You're the one who's ugly, asshole. Huh. Something's not right here. Little brother, where's my little brother? Damn. How come I don't have a little brother? With a face like yours, you're one to talk. Your focus is actually on that thing. That one's missing and that one's gone too. Damn. The damn game developers lied to us. If you can be a lizard man, why can't you play a female character? If you don't want to be a lizard man, let's swap. Get lost. The official website states that the hibernation pods are equipped with body scanning devices, allowing users to view their attributes and levels. Slowly, the attributes of Scavenge LVL 99 gradually emerge. Sir Scavenge gazes at these abnormal attribute points. How do I remember? The official website seems to write. The standard attribute baseline for a normal male is 5 points. This is my first time logging in, and the thinking attribute is surprisingly high. It's just that the intelligence attribute is a bit low. The key point is I don't feel like I'm not smart. Sir Scavenge couldn't help but feel excited about his future. Haha, let's go. I can't wait to get out. We mustn't keep the administrator waiting. Sir Scavenge happily walked toward the door. Hold my hand. Looking at the paper behind Sir Scavenge's bottom, he reminded Sir Scavenge. This paper seems to be made of waterproof material. It hasn't gotten wet after all. It's just a bunch of garbled text. He has no idea what is written on it. If you can't understand it, just leave it be for now. The two of them entered the hall, and what met their eyes was a group of excited new players discussing. This game is way too realistic. At that moment, everyone turned their heads and saw Sir Scavenge. Holy crap! A lizard man. Everyone crowded around to get a closer look. Holding Blade said disdainfully. After all, hidden classes are still the most sought after. Sir Scavenge, seeing Holding Blade looking downcast, called him over to join his crew, promising he'd live a life of luxury and ease. As soon as Sir Scavenge walked in, he emitted a pungent odor. Holding Blade told him to keep his distance. But then again, aside from Sir Scavenge being a lizard man, all the other players were normal humans, including those with physique-based attributes, a few perception-based, as well as agility-based and intelligence-based ones. Chato Matt. And there are female players. Would you like to play such a game too? Come share your thoughts in the comments section. Winter is coming. We've welcomed 24 new players, but that's not the key point. The real highlight is that we finally have female players joining us. Intelligence-based Fuji. She looked at the realistic scene and exclaimed, "This game is so incredibly real. I can't wait any longer. I really want to try the cybernetic modifications mentioned on the official website. There are only some cultivation pods here. Let's go out and take a look." She gazed at the high-tech hall. She exclaimed, "It's so huge!" Upon seeing another female player like herself, she immediately went up to her, wanting to get acquainted. The male players nearby, seeing a female gamer in the game, and one with a model-like figure, tall and with long legs, couldn't help but drool with excitement. Fuji stepped right up and called her sister. "I noticed you've been standing here by yourself all this time. It seems like it's just the two of us female players for now. Let me introduce myself, I'm Fuji. Raven also introduced herself as a perception-type player. Fuji looked at the people in the hall with confusion. Raven asked if there were any discoveries. Fuji said, "All of us here are wearing the same jacket. Indeed, this must be the uniform of our faction, like a starter outfit or something. I don't think it's that simple. Based on my experience in the clothing industry, I can tell just by touch that the fabric of this garment is extraordinary. It seems to be a material that provides insulation, cold resistance, and windproofing. And it's more advanced than any fabric I've ever seen. The material here feels different from the other parts. Is there a specific intention behind this design?" I pulled. Snap. There's actually a hidden mechanism on this piece of clothing. Fuji touched her flat chest. Raven couldn't help but chuckle as she watched Fuji suddenly change outfits. Little did she know, when Fuji saw Raven laughing, she thought Raven was making fun of her flat chest. "I hate it the most when people mock me for having small breasts," she immediately retorted. "What are you laughing at? Think having big boobs makes you special? Cows have big udders but no brains, disgusting amount of milk. I doubt you even have breasts, so where's your brain? Did it all go to your butt? Oh wait, you don't have a butt either. No chest, no butt, what a pitiful child." After saying this, she pulled off her disguise button, and her hot body immediately revealed itself. "I'm proud of my big chest. You have small breasts, so shut up. Tall baby bottle, big brain but no chest." As a result, the two of them started arguing fiercely. Holding Blade watched the noisy hall. He was also quite speechless. Some people are banging their heads against the wall, some are asking others to slap them in the face, and the worst one is actually relieving themselves in public. Holding Blade feels like he didn't enter a game world, but a mental hospital. At this moment, our administrator makes an entrance. Everyone turned their gaze toward the administrator in unison. Everyone was excited, finally seeing an NPC. Holding Blade mentioned that although it's his first time playing the game, he has been following Fong Chang's posts on the official website, so he is quite familiar with the game settings. I stepped forward to welcome the arrival of the new player, and introduced myself as the administrator. Codename 1, Dawnlight. "Welcome to Vault 404. I am the administrator here, codenamed Dawnlight." Everyone listened attentively to Dawnlight's speech. But at that very moment, Dawnlight was surprised to discover that there were actually mutants mixed in among the players. This made me ponder deeply. But come to think of it, this silly one must be a player. Then there's no need to worry about him being able to harm me. After all, I can kick, ban, or revoke privileges in just a second. This guy really isn't anything to worry about. I re-explained the story background to the new players. This is a post-war wasteland world. Our world now is completely unrecognizable. It is now the 200th year after the apocalypse. Fortunately, we have successfully endured the most difficult years. You being able to stand here already makes you more fortunate than 12 billion people. Now, I need you to quickly grasp the reality of the situation. Then, fulfill the declaration you made under the banner of the Human Alliance, rebuild our homeland. The person beside me is my assistant. Its name is Seven. If you have any questions about the shelter or anything you don't understand, feel free to ask it. This opening is great. When the next group of players arrives, we'll use this without any changes. In addition, the Shelter Resident Handbook has been updated to version 2.0, which includes the Resident Convention, Code of Conduct, and requirements for public order, good customs, and prohibited matters. All residents are requested to review it promptly. For residents who violate the regulations, light penalties include forced hibernation and confinement, while severe penalties involve deportation to the underground and permanent removal. We hope everyone strictly adheres to the rules. Upon hearing about the permanent removal penalty, everyone started discussing whether the NPC's authority might be a bit too extensive. Since you chose to make a reservation, that means you have already accepted the game settings. The new clause only applies to player versus player conflicts and harassment of other players. Illicit transactions. It also imposes restrictions on malicious destruction of in-game facilities and other such behaviors. These clauses all fall under legitimate interest claims. Some of these were even discussed and proposed by the players themselves. Moreover, I have made more detailed regulations regarding the rules. For example, malicious destruction of facilities will result in forced labor. Sexual assault will result in the permanent confiscation of the tools used in the offense. That is quite humane. I led 24 players out of the shelter and headed to the surface. Everyone exclaimed how incredibly realistic this game is. Each one of them said, "I could brag about this for a year back in the real world." I familiarized these newbie players with the outpost facilities. Especially, I emphasized to them that defecating or urinating near the outpost is strictly prohibited. Right after that, I handed all these people over to the eager veteran players like old Bai. There are plenty of tasks at the outpost right now, so there's no need to worry about them having nothing to do. Some of them were called to move bricks and repair walls. And another group was led by Fong Chong, headed to the construction site northeast of Wetland Park, to transport raw materials for cement production. As for the payment, 10 contribution points per hour. Wow, in the real world I wouldn't even look at labor jobs, but in the game I'm thrilled to be doing it. Of course, not all players were assigned to work at the construction site. Some followed Tomato to make smoked meat. Some went hunting with Storm, as well as gathering tasks like these. For example, that female player who is 1.8 meters tall with the ID, Little Raven. She was assigned to gathering tasks. Her genetic sequence is of the perception type. Although the initial value of the main attribute, perception, is 1 point lower than Yi-Ten's, players with this talent can detect toxicity purely through biological instinct, independent of knowledge or experience. Of course, before acquiring toxin resistance, the poisoning effect itself will have a more significant negative impact on her. Toxin resistance plus 1000 perception. 100 besides, I specifically sought out the lizard folk to gather information. You are Scavenge LVL 99. Sir Scavenge confirms it is indeed me. Sir Scavenge suddenly remembered the paper tucked in his back pocket. He told the administrator that he couldn't read the words on it, and wondered if it was a special mission. Dawnlight took the foul-smelling piece of paper. It was written in the language of this world. No wonder Sir Scavenge said he couldn't recognize it. So I asked Sir Scavenge where this paper came from, and he said it was from behind his butt. Holy crap. It was right in the cultivation pod. When I woke up it was stuck there. I helplessly said, "Don't be nervous." I just casually asked. It says it's a message left for me by the original administrator. And it explains the situation regarding the anomaly. This guy must be out of his mind. Whatever, can't be bothered to complain about the dead. Check out this lizard person's 5-dimensional stats and talents. Nanny? His strength has already caught up to my level 5, and with the innate abilities of physical regeneration and cold blood, these are truly practical assets in combat. Although leveling up might be a bit challenging. Low temperature discomfort. Difficult to operate the replication machinery. But these are not major issues. I am delighted to invite Sir Scavenge to join me for hunting in the future. Sir Scavenge is very happy to have the opportunity to rely on administrator's support right from the start. I am very satisfied with his current momentum. I then sent him to wait at the entrance of the sanatorium. I still have some matters to arrange and will join him shortly. Sir Scavenge instantly turns into a simp. He eagerly went to wait at the sanatorium. He is the administrator of Vault 404. Yet he was unaware of the secret behind the novice's clothing. Instead, he needed to be reminded by new players. Only then did he realize the secret hidden within the novice's clothing. I never expected that the blue coat had such a function hidden within it. After the transformation, it became even lighter and more form-fitting. Great, we can inform the players about this method later. Oh, I almost forgot. He found Fuji's list. He is preparing to release the task. This attribute is still quite good. As a real-life fashion designer, her talent seems tailor-made for her. As a matter of routine, I asked Fuji if she could make clothes. Fuji thought to herself that her real-world profession was design, primarily working on computers, but her hands-on skills were considerably better than the average person's. If she had the materials and tools, she could give it a try. Hearing this, I was quite satisfied and told Fuji to follow me. Tools would need to be figured out, but materials were definitely not an issue. Dawnlight led her to the storage area for animal hides, pointing at the mountain-like pile of materials and asking if there were enough. Wasn't this just pure showing off? As a woman navigating the forefront of the fashion world, she could tell with just one touch. The texture and sheen of the fur clearly indicated it was far from cheap. She turned around and asked Administrator excitedly, "Are all these materials for me to handle alone?" I mentioned that all the leather on the shelf is handled by our chef. He still has a lot to learn in this area. I will appoint you as the person in charge of clothing production for the shelter. Fuji confidently patted the flat chest. "Don't worry. Leave it to me." And I explained that to brace for the cold winter, staying warm is the priority, while style comes second. Right now, something like a sewing machine might be a bit tricky to handle, but I do have basic tools like needles, thread, and scissors. Fuji also mentioned that while a sewing machine would be better, if the goal is just to keep warm, having these basic tools is sufficient. Dawnlight giggled foolishly. I really like this kind of diligent and low-maintenance player. I acknowledge Fuji's dedication to the work and mention that we will be acquiring more prey in the coming days. I recall heading north after exiting the city's elevated highway. I heard there are migrating deer herds there, so with a bit of luck we should be able to make quite a catch. After I assigned the task to Fuji, I sent 7 to notify the players, and everyone uniformly started using the correct way to wear the clothes. Afterward, the players continued building the outpost with great enthusiasm, to avoid taking advantage of the players without giving back. The task I assigned to Fuji offers a reward of 50 contribution points for each piece of clothing made, as long as it provides warmth. Once the store system is launched, clothing can be sold to other players at prices ranging from 100 to 500 contribution points based on quality. But thinking about this, I still need a shopkeeper NPC. Considering that Bronze Farmland has serfs with mobility issues, should we think about recruiting a few? And just at that moment, Sir Scavenge is already eager to set off. I told him not to rush. I need to find you a proper weapon. Follow me. We arrived at the cabin built by Mosquito, now used as a carpentry workshop. The outpost is currently short on tools, especially reliable steel ones. Many things have to be replaced with wood. However, solutions are always devised by people. I combined some industrial scrap salvaged from the wasteland with wood. For example, the crossbow by the wall. The bowstring is made from the tendons of mutated dogs, specially treated. Considering the limited supply of bullets, it's better to use the crossbow to hunt game when it's not absolutely necessary. Sir Scavenge also wanted to get his hands on the crossbow and give it a try. I immediately turned around and gave him a sharp slap. I pointed at the javelin in the distance. This is your weapon, Sir Scavenge. Or would you rather struggle a bit? He claimed his quickscope skills were incredibly smooth. I gave him a look, letting him think it over. With such a big build, shouldn't you be charging ahead as a tank instead of hiding in the back with a sniper rifle? Is that really fun? I explained that mastering the javelin is a fundamental skill in hunting. From now on, you'll handle the hunting on your own. Sir Scavenge thought he had triggered the plot. He gladly accepted Dawnlight's arrangement. I am the 404 administrator who has traveled to the wasteland world. If I were to be killed by raiders, I might actually die. But for the 2 of them, they just need to stay in the cultivation pod for 3 days to be revived. Therefore, the 3 of them have completely different attitudes towards Raider, watching him as he leaves. Dawnlight is still very nervous. Yetion still wanted to ask about the situation outside. I nervously covered Yetion's mouth. After all, we had no idea how sharp the mutant's hearing was. Who would have thought the hyena would quickly start barking in the direction of our hiding spot? Damn it! That beast must have maxed out all its skill points in perception. Raider noticed something unusual. They also quickly started shooting in our direction. I hurriedly took cover. The bullets fell short, not even reaching the wall where I was. That handmade DIY rifle probably doesn't have rifling. Newbie, Sir Scavenge asked. What's the situation with the firefight? Are we encountering mutants? Yeton is excited to fight against mutants. He told the novice Sir Scavenge not to panic. Let me take a quick look first. I cursed. What the hell are you looking at? It's Raider. Both of them have guns. And there's a dog following them. You retreat from the rear, and we'll meet up at the bus stop 300 meters due south. The 2 of them were unhappy upon hearing this. Why do we have to retreat? There are only 2 people and a beast on the other side. We have just as many people as they do. Damn, why does that sound so convincing? The 2 of them stepped forward together. They declared that they were ready to fight. Although we only have 1 gun, we still have Molotov cocktails and a crossbow. This 2-meter-tall lizard. I refuse to believe it can't defeat a dog. Oh right. Why run? Back in the day I was all alone, risking my life out there in the wilderness. It made sense to dodge those ruthless bandits when you had nothing. But now I've got guns and people on my side. What the hell is there to run from now? Especially when there are only 2 of them on the other side. Let's take them down. Yeton, take the Molotov cocktail and head over to the opposite corner of the street. Listen carefully to my command. As soon as you hear my gunshot, light it and throw it. They don't know how many people are on my side. When they see someone rushing out, they'll definitely give chase. Administrator, sir. How should I get over there? Run over unless you want me to carry you on my back. Don't worry, their guns don't have rifling. He won't hit you, although he's panicking inside. But this is a chance to show off in front of Administrator Sama. Damn it. Let's do it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Damn it. I'm going all out. What's there to be afraid of in a game? The two of them saw Yitian, raising the gun and firing immediately. But the gun was too crappy, didn't even graze Yitian's clothes. So exciting, so exciting. This game feels so realistic. If you enjoy watching, feel free to hit the follow button. The two, seeing that Yitian wasn't armed, figured he was probably just a scrapper rummaging through trash nearby. They let go of the dog leash, intending to let the hyenas teach Yitian a lesson. Just as he was approaching Yitian, bang! The bullet pierced its abdomen, sending the hyena flying. The hyena was seen only exhaling with no breath left to inhale. Dawnlight was quite satisfied with his marksmanship. Raider saw his beloved dog lying dead. His anger surged and he swore to skin me alive. At that moment, Yitian also threw a Molotov cocktail. Bang! It ignited right beneath the feet of the two raiders. Sir Scavenge also lunged forward, spear aimed at the raider, but the raider twisted his head aside. He watched as the lizard man attacked him with a spear. In a fit of rage and desperation, he ended his own life. The little leaks were still working hard to build the sanatorium. Some were firing raw materials. Some were mixing cement. Old Bai and Fong Chong were still chattering away about something. The two of them saw the administrator. They were about to approach and I asked them why they were so relaxed, especially since everyone else was working with great enthusiasm. Fong Chong mentioned that he was researching the method of backyard steel smelting. He also mentioned that the construction site had been handed over to Holding Blade, who has a background in civil engineering. I asked if there was any progress on Storm's end. Fong Chong said that Storm has improved the fishing traps. He uses mutated leech larvae as bait. Catching over 10 fish a day is no problem at all. The ones we can't finish are all given to Brother Tomate to be made into dried fish. The only thing to note is not to put too much bait in the trap, and the water level where it's deployed shouldn't be too deep. Otherwise, the large fish attracted could easily damage the trap. I consider these to be minor issues. Once you grasp the knack, everything will gradually become more proficient. I told them to continue researching the indigenous steelmaking method, and then turned around and left. I looked at the bustling construction site and couldn't help but think, everything here feels so novel to them. An experience almost impossible to have in modern society, where many people sit in offices all day long. Day after day, they repeat tasks that anyone could replace, losing themselves in trivial matters. Yet here it's different. This difference doesn't just come from a temporary sense of novelty, but from a genuine fulfillment of self-worth. After working on construction sites for 5 or 6 years without making it to management, a civil engineering dog like me can instantly be hailed as a pro and entrusted with major responsibilities here just by saying, I'm in engineering. The vast majority of players are ordinary people, and the jobs they do in real life might not be particularly eye-catching. But here, as long as you have a skill, even if it's not that outstanding, you can still earn recognition from the group. And the surface outpost of the shelter is visibly improving because of each one of their efforts. Personal growth often begins with fulfilling basic physiological needs. Next comes the need for safety, followed by the need for social belonging, the need for esteem. Ultimately, it leads to self-actualization. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is the highest level of need, transcending any lower-level desires. And the spiritual joy it brings is unmatched by any other form of pleasure. Most importantly, obtaining it doesn't require a great cost. Even if the muscles ache from exhaustion, it's the game character who bears the fatigue. It doesn't affect the next day's life. On the contrary, going to bed early can make you feel even more energetic and lively the following day. However, these things are not important to me as an administrator, nor do I care about them. I just need to ensure that the number of reservations always exceeds the players on the list, so I don't have to worry about a lack of fresh new recruits to come and sweat it out. Quitting the game. FK. As the saying goes, please hand over your helmet and account to those who need them, and try a more primitive way of gaming. I believe many players might go crazy. Pushing open the wooden door, I asked the two of them to sort out the spoils from this trip. To be honest, the gains from this outing were quite delightful. Aside from the equipment, I didn't let anything go to waste. I handed the mutated dog over to Brother Tomato. Matches, a compass, a map, and a few pieces of jerky. There were also some plastic sheets. The two of them looked at the currency and thought it was some kind of casino chips. I asked Yiten to give me the plastic sheets as I had a use for them. Yiten didn't think much of this currency at all. After collecting it, he handed it to me. I reminded Yiten not to eat these dried meats, as raiders usually aren't very picky about what they consume. You can't be sure what kind of meat this is. Holy crap. I asked the two of them what it feels like to kill someone, and they trembled as they answered. They said they didn't notice. After all, they thought they were in a game. What could they possibly feel? When the blood splattered on them, for a brief moment, they suddenly felt a desire to feed, as if it were a biological instinct. I'm really curious about the strong psychological resilience of the players. I can't help but wonder if the dreamlike state has dulled the perception of death. After all, this setup wasn't designed by me. I haven't used the players' helmets either, nor do I know if the world they see is the same as the one I see. It seems I should use my role as a planner to chat more with the players in the future. By 5 p.m., our brilliant players had already repaired the northern wall of the sanatorium. I even feel like my role as an NPC is redundant. Some talents aren't listed on the attribute panel, but are ingrained in their very bones. Give them a piece of land, and by tomorrow, it will turn into a field. The treasures on the construction site are not just those bluish-gray stones, but also the piles of cement blocks wrapped in burlap sacks. Although this cement has long since hardened and can no longer be mixed with sand to pour foundations, however, by shifting perspective, it can be repurposed as excellent bricks for constructing walls. Under the leadership of Holding Blade, players cut pine logs into 4 to 5 meter lengths and drive them into the ground. They fill the gaps with cement blocks transported from construction sites and reinforce the structure with steel bars stolen from the same sites. Finally, they pour mixed calcium carbonate cement over the setup. Once the cement dries, a simple yet reliable concrete fortification is complete. For the inner wall, Holding Blade plans to use cement and concrete waste to build a slope. In the event of an attack, players inside the wall can crouch on the slope and use the cover to retaliate against invaders. Considering the outpost may expand further, additional defensive structures can be built outside the fortress, complemented by guard posts and watchtowers for surveillance. The terrain of the entire wetland park is relatively flat, and the area around the sanatorium is a forested plain with no steep slopes that could serve as cover. I can cut down all the trees around here. That way, we can spot any targets approaching the outpost as soon as they come into view. Old Bai, you're a genius. I really wonder what you do in real life. I'm just a civil engineering grunt, a marginal figure at the workplace, spending my days drinking tea and reading newspapers. Hardly anyone gives me a second glance. No, your skills are actually quite good. To be honest, I never thought I'd be able to finish painting an entire wall today. The sun sets in the west, and it's time for dinner again. Everyone gazes at the giant fish, as big as a wash basin, and can't help but drool with happiness. Everyone picks up their bowls and starts eating, exclaiming how incredibly realistic this game is. It even simulates the sense of taste. Fuji, however, finds the food too fishy. This remark was overheard by Brother Tomate, who couldn't help but curse under his breath. There's no cooking wine here. I've already done my best. Yi-Ten stepped forward to explain. In this game, if you don't eat, you'll get hungry. If you want, I can help you hold your nose and force it down. At that moment, Administrator walked over with Storm. Old Bai saw Administrator. He went up and asked Administrator to go eat together. Several people looked at Administrator, whose face was gloomy. The two were taken aback for a moment and asked, Brother Storm, what happened? Does anyone know what happened at the shelter? Leave a comment and share your thoughts. Shelter 404 has finally reported its first player death. Could it be one of the newcomers, the fresh little leaks? Old Bai and Fong Chong were shocked. They never expected that this game could actually result in death. To be fair, unless you deliberately seek death or make reckless moves, it's actually quite difficult to die in this game. I didn't expect the third batch of players to suffer non-combat casualties as soon as they went online. Half a month earlier than I anticipated. The player who died seems to be named Raven. I remember sending her out this morning to gather berries and edible mushrooms. Somehow, she ended up near the mutated leech nest. I can confirm the player's approximate location through the player list. As I explored along the way, I discovered that her last active area was near the mutated leech nest. I immediately gave up on the idea of retrieving the body. The offspring of the mutated leeches are manageable. Their mouthparts have degenerated to the point where they can barely even suck blood. At most, they just feed on decaying matter. However, adult mutated leeches are different. They swallow their prey whole in one gulp. There's no doubt that by now, even her bones are nowhere to be found. I announced the logout time has come. Everyone returned to the hibernation pods. I led the players back to the shelter in groups, settling them into their pods to log out. Alone, I approached this vital essence extractor, staring at its power plug that messes with one's mind. Clearly, the designer of this system had no intention of letting me steal electricity from the shelter. 7. Tell me, how should the synthetic substance generated through this thing be injected into the cultivation pod? It's quite simple. The vital essence storage tanks in the cultivation pods are detachable. You should be able to pour the vital essence directly into them, right? That is to say, it's also possible to remove the storage tank from another cultivation pod. Huh, I'm not sure about that. Master, you wouldn't be thinking of stealing. How can borrowing something be considered stealing? The generator won't be available until the end of the month. I can't wait until the end of the month to resurrect the deceased players. Since there are still 70 unopened canisters, we might as well make use of the vital essence inside first. 7 said shyly. What if we run out? Then we'll figure it out when the time comes. Let's solve the immediate problem first. But thinking about it, the vital essence is indeed limited. Maybe we should increase the death penalty to make players more cautious. Or perhaps implement a rule in the future that prohibits players below level 5 from leaving the village. I really can't figure out what perception-based Raven is thinking. Plus, this newbie who just died doesn't have any contributions to deduct. She can't even afford the death penalty. She can't just owe it, right? Players find out, they'll go wild. It seems we need to set up mandatory labor or punitive tasks to replace the death penalty in cases where payment is not possible. Decrease in favorability or account suspension for 10 days due to consecutive deaths. After a long day, it's time to tally up the work results. As the number of players grows, the daily changes in inventory and supplies have become a significant figure. As the administrator, I must coordinate and plan every resource. Building material inventory income. 84 logs. 500 kilograms of carbon, 500 kilograms of calcium carbonate cement, yellow mud bricks, and several hardened cement blocks. Looking at the deficit list. This consumption rate is way too fast. Looking at the daily consumption of 10 kilograms of smoked jerky. I couldn't help but frown. It's getting hard to support even 30 people. It's time to hire a warehouse manager. We also need to figure out a way to get a more accurate scale and measuring tools. Based on the statistical information provided by 7, contribution points have been allocated to each player's personal account, according to the actual situation. New players primarily earn contribution points by moving bricks, calculated at 10 points per hour. Only Fuji currently has 0 contribution points. After all, making clothes is a technical skill. Using unfamiliar materials to create garments definitely requires some time to figure things out. Once she gets used to it, she'll be earning contribution points in no time. Few finally finished assigning them. Time to collect the daily mission rewards. Only 6 reward points this time. Added to the previous ones, I now have 17 points in total. Let's give it a shot. After all, blind boxes are forever the best. Come on, my baby, let's draw. Violet light beams out. How will Dawnlight's luck turn out? Stay tuned for the next episode. If I were the CEO of a gaming company and a beautiful player made a request to me, if a player requests the activation of a game recharge system and expresses a desire to make various purchases, I would prioritize providing a secure, user-friendly, and fair payment experience. This includes offering diverse payment methods, ensuring transparent pricing, and implementing safeguards against overspending, such as spending limits or reminders. Player satisfaction and trust are paramount, so I would also ensure all transactions comply with relevant regulations and ethical standards. Dawnlight nervously watched the outcome of the blind box. As expected, it was another pile of lollipops and a nanotech healing injection that could rapidly heal wounds in a short time. As expected, it should have been from a mid-tier blind box. I looked around to see if there was any instruction manual, but neither the side effects nor the active ingredients were indicated. Similar to the previous booster shot, this also falls under the category of products without proper labeling, certification, or clear information. Whatever. Just put it away for now. Another batch of lollipops has arrived. I'm really speechless about this blind box. There's also an orange-flavored lollipop that boosts strength by 10% for 10 hours. This one is pretty good. There are also chocolate and canned beef. I'm looking at a canned food with a 30-day shelf life. Is this really safe to eat? If I remember correctly, canned food was invented during the Franco-Prussian War in the 1800s. Never mind, I'll just find a player to test it out and see. Phew, all the rewards have been collected. Let's look for that player named Raven on the forum. As soon as I opened the comments section, I saw the ID Raven featured on the forum's homepage. Wah, it's all my fault for being too curious. I shouldn't have taken the risk. I'm begging you, dear game developers, please have mercy on me. I swear it wasn't on purpose. Please don't ban my device QQ. Plus, I've almost reached over 100 posts in that thread. Device ban? Let's see what exactly happened. Here's what Raven said. I admit it. I was indeed being reckless, but there's no helping it. Blame it on my toxin observation talent. Anything poisonous glows green in my eyes. It's practically torture for someone with OCD. I'm amazed, can you really identify poison with the naked eye? I just don't know how the detection mechanism works. According to the task assigned by the administrator, I started by picking mushrooms and raspberries in the forest. With the help of my character's innate ability, I could basically identify poisonous berries and mushrooms, so the efficiency was quite high. In no time I filled several plastic buckets and brought them back. I figured the area around the sanatorium had been picked clean, so I decided to venture a bit farther. As I walked on, I came across what looked like a parking lot. There were quite a few mushrooms there, and I gathered a good amount. Just as I was about to head back, I suddenly noticed a very tall, large concrete pipe, sort of like a sewer entrance, with a huge green glow coming from inside. I didn't think too much of it at the time and figured, since there were so many mushrooms inside, why not take a look? After all, I could identify any poisonous ones and just avoid touching them. Plus, I didn't see any dangerous monsters around. So I walked over and peeked inside. I swear I really only meant to take a quick look. And then something horrifying happened. A chunk of meat. I don't know what kind of meat it was, but it smashed right into my face. At that moment I couldn't breathe at all, and I couldn't open my eyes. Soon I couldn't even move, feeling as if I had been swallowed by something. Although there was no pain, the sensation was absolutely terrible. Just as I was about to lose consciousness, I suddenly woke up in reality. Everything that had just happened felt like a bizarre dream. At first I thought I had been disconnected, so I quickly put on the helmet to reconnect. Then I saw the words "connection interrupted" displayed inside the helmet, which soon changed to login restricted. No matter how many times I tried, I couldn't log back in. Wow. Now I realize this was truly a freebie. That player is genuinely brave. Literally using their face to check the bush. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't dare to do something like that. The comments section is flooded with criticism from Headless Senpai and players who didn't get into the closed beta. After understanding the cause, I proactively contacted Raven's players and explained that the death penalty requires a 72-hour cooldown for resurrection. Raven was shocked after hearing about the 3-day cooldown. She had never played such a realistic game before. Having to stay offline for 3 whole days was something she couldn't bear. So she asked if it was possible to recharge. As someone without a physical body in reality, I decisively refused. I made it clear that even within the rules there was nothing I could do. I also mentioned that dying in the game would result in a deduction of 500 contribution points. This made Raven clutch his head in despair. Moreover, your current contribution points are insufficient. This will affect the NPC's favorability toward you. 3 questions in a row. I'm just asking, are you scared or not? That's it. I haven't even earned 500 free coins. Yet I wasted a whole jar of my vital essence. Aren't you ashamed? Actually, it's not that big of a deal. Just a newbie, so even if they die, it's not a huge loss. The main point is to make sure players learn from it and remember. After Raven sincerely admitted their mistake, I won't bring this up again. I replied to Raven, saying there's no need to apologize to me. I was just explaining the game's penalty mechanism and the reasoning behind such settings. Later, please go to your post and also inform the other players. I will unlock the post. Additionally, I must emphasize once again that Wasteland OL is positioned as a hardcore game. At least in the early stages, there won't be many casual elements, and this was a decision we made when designing the entire game framework from the start. If you really can't accept the game's design, I'd suggest trying a different game or waiting until the open beta version is released, when the content will be more diverse and you can give it another try. Upon hearing that the helmet would be taken back, Raven immediately apologized more sincerely. She also stated that once she returns to the game, she will definitely work hard to improve her favorability with the NPCs. Just when I thought the conversation was over, Raven brought up, "Can you guys introduce some in-game purchases like gifts that can boost affection levels? I've seen other games have them like Big Nose Mouse Manor. Damn, what's the use of having money? Friend, you shouldn't always think about solving problems with money. We are a legitimate company. Traditional gaming company. The recharge page is practically shoved in our faces. But our male protagonist refuses to play along. Does he see money as worthless as dirt? Of course not. After all, in the real world he doesn't even have his ashes left. What use would money be?" Raven stared blankly at Dawnlight, who claimed to be a legitimate company and would never implement a recharge system. Isn't it just a money trap? Only the free ones are not legit, right? How could these small fries possibly understand themselves? Better check if there's any drama in the herd to watch. As soon as I joined the group, messages started popping up one after another. "Hold your hand," said Played it and honestly this game is absolutely amazing. I take back what I said before. I'm impressed. I'm untouchable said. Damn. Even you with those thick eyebrows and big eyes got bought off by the dog admin? Girl hating Knight X10 said. Dog keep barking. White Horse said, no kidding, did you guys see the post on the official website? The one about the person who died today. The girl hating Knight X10 said. Saw it, it's Raven, the one with the long legs, 180 centimeters tall. Group owner. Hurry up and find a way to add them to the group. White Horse said. Get lost, go do it yourself. Fong Chong said. Finished reading the post. I summed it up in 3 points. 1. Losing consciousness or dying in the game will force a disconnection from the connection. 2. Excessive pain sensation has indeed been removed, which matches my own testing. I have to say the game developers are very clever. Having no sensation at all feels unrealistic, but too much pain would drive players away. The current balance is just right. Still, I stand by what I said. It would be even better if we could adjust it ourselves. Girl hating Knight X10 said. There's one more thing. Level 8 Storm said. Let me add to that. If you don't push your luck, you won't get into trouble. Fong Chong said. Exactly. Smoking Cessation said. I'm so frustrated. Why can't I ever get a reservation? White Horse said. Hey, why not try Brother Dwanlight's pay-for-play service? Smoking Cessation said. I'm furious. He told me to wait. Girl hating Knight X10 said. My condolences. White Horse said. It shouldn't be that bad. Did you secretly badmouth him? This guy really holds a grudge. I checked his profile, he's a Scorpio. Smoking Cessation said. No way, how would I dare badmouth him? I'm Brother Dwanlight's most loyal simp. Okay? White Horse said, that's strange. I'll ask him about it another day. Fong Chong said, by the way, is Scavenge LVL 99 online? Girl hating Knight X10 said. Not sure, I'll tag him for you. White Horse said. Scavenge LVL 99 ahem, what's up? I'm in the group. Fong Chong said, I noticed your character is a lizard man. When you take off the helmet and return to reality, do you feel anything off, like a sense of dissonance? Scavenge LVL 99 said. Not really, feels pretty good. In the game, my athletic ability is insane and my reactions are super quick. After logging off, nothing feels off either. But there is one thing I'm not quite used to. In the game, I always crave raw meat, and the sight of blood makes my whole body burn with excitement. But as soon as I take off the helmet, it's gone. Really strange. Fong Chong said. Why can you even choose non-human characters but not create a female account? Level 8 Storm said. Ahem, be reasonable, dude. White Horse said. You're making me a little scared. Fong Chong said. Get lost, I just want to try and see what it feels like. Pure curiosity, you guys know. Girl hating Knight X10 said. No, we don't get it. Level 8 Storm said. Speaking of which, Yi-Ten and Scavenge, when you two went hunting with the administrator today, did you run into raiders? Yes, there were 2 raiders and a tamed mutated hyena. They were executing a scrapper when we found them, but that person had already been killed off by the plot. Then we took out those 2 raiders and took their equipment. Level 8 Storm said. You killed the NPC. Scavenge LVL 99 replied. It was the administrator who ordered the attack. It shouldn't count as violating the resident handbook rules, right? I even checked later. It only prohibits attacking neutral or friendly NPCs. Girl hating Knight X10 said. I think those were probably spawned wild monsters, but the bleeding effect was indeed a bit too realistic. I almost thought someone actually died. It seems I was right. The world through players' eyes is indeed filtered. Similar to a blurring of concepts. If pain or visual stimuli exceed certain limits, the brain will block them out. After all, players being scared awake directly from nightmares greatly affects their gaming experience, which could deter many players. Now that I think about it, I kind of envy these leaks, referring to players who are easily exploited but still enthusiastic. Back when I first arrived in the wasteland, it took me quite a while to overcome these psychological barriers. Level 8 Storm said. Are they speaking Mandarin? Scavenge LVL 99 said. They speak very strangely. Sounds a bit like Chinese but not quite. I can't understand it anyway, probably just randomly generated by the program. Fong Chong said. The arrangement of this storyline is actually quite interesting. I feel it's meant to remind us of the hidden dangers in this wasteland, similar to the mutant tribe we encountered earlier. The purpose is likely to create a sense of crisis. Girl hating Knight X10 said. Isn't it randomly generated plot? Fong Chong said. Everything I see is a pre-designed program. There's no such thing as true randomness. White Horse said. I think what Fong Chong said makes some sense. It just so happens to occur on the very day a new player logs in. It feels somewhat deliberately arranged, doesn't it? Game flow. Arriving in the wasteland world, encountering mutant blackbirds, discovering the mutant tribe, building shelter outposts, encountering raiders. Fong Chong said, "It can only be considered a conjecture. I think this part of the plot can be interpreted as the outpost expands and the player's overall strength increases, conflicts with other factions and mutants in the wasteland will gradually intensify, driven by the struggle for survival resources in space. Perhaps this will be the main theme of the next phase of the game. In fact, preparations for war can already begin. I estimate that, at the earliest, after the Winter is Coming expansion concludes, the next expansion will be Outpost Conflict." Level 8 Storm says, "Damn impressive." Scavenge 99 says, "Amazing, amazing. This analysis is on point." Girl Hating Knight X10 says, "Wow, just wow. Brother Fong Chong, your thinking is out of this world." Smoking Cessation says, "Damn, I really want to play. Wow, even I, as the planner, didn't think of these details, but this guy has covered all the bases for me. He's truly a talent. I should copy this guy's analysis. Might as well just explain it this way. So tired, so tired. Everyone, please follow for now. I'm going to catch some sleep first." A series of beeping messages woke me up. Damn, who is it? It's so late at night. Scavenge LVL 99 said, "Brother Dwanlight, when will the server finally be online? I can't wait any longer, I'm begging you. Please let me log in and start grinding." Damn, how can there be such a person? I said I was just catching up on sleep. Don't you have to work during the day? Scavenge LVL 99 said, "He work? This game is definitely gonna make big money later. Might as well spend time leveling up. He. Is it really okay to say something like that in front of the game developers? I'm saying you should take it easy. The release date for the open beta hasn't been decided yet. It's entirely possible that the closed testing could last a year or two, followed by internal testing for another 3 to 5 years. Scavenge LVL 99 said, "Doesn't matter. A company as big as yours isn't even worried about going bankrupt, so why should I worry? That's some clear thinking. All the games currently on the market are trash compared to mine. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that it frees up nighttime hours already makes it incredibly powerful, right? Who would refuse an extra 8 hours of life in a day?" I said, "Whatever you want." Scavenge 99 said, "So, Mr. Planner, can you let me log in?" I promise I'll test whatever you want me to." I said, "I can't control what you do, just follow the game rules." "But isn't it pointless to log in this late? Game time syncs with real time. It should still be nighttime in the game right now." "That's precisely why I haven't allowed players to work through the night. Even I might not dare to stay out in the wilderness overnight." Scavenge LVL 99 says, "Precisely because it's late at night, you might not know this, but my in-game genetic sequence is that of an alien species. Strictly speaking, night is actually my domain. Daytime is when I should be sleeping. Bro dev, just let me go up there." I say, "I'll put in a request." "Thanks, Brother Dwanlight." Sigh. I've never seen such an enthusiastic player before. However, this guy's argument does seem to make some sense. Strictly speaking, night is indeed the domain of alien species. For a lizard man with Scavenge LVL 99, darkness may not necessarily mean danger. Instead, it could serve as cover. I opened the player list. I unlocked the level cap for Scavenge LVL 99. Gurgle gurgle, Scavenge LVL 99 logging into the game. He stepped out of the incubation pod. Wow, that was fast. Awake? Perfect timing. I have a task for you right here. Task activated. At your command, esteemed administrator. At Wetland Park, directly opposite the East Gate, there is 76th Street where the mutant tribe resides. During the day, we also detected traces of raider activity in the northern districts along the elevated highway leading out of the city. I suspect there is a raider stronghold in the northern area. I need you to conduct reconnaissance northward along the elevated highway and search for any signs of survivor activity within a 3-kilometer radius. If you discover any suspected survivor outposts, mark them on the map and return immediately to report. Remember to stay hidden and avoid all unnecessary combat. Additionally, if you come across suitable targets, you may also take on optional hunting side missions. The rewards are valid at any time. Understood. Esteemed Administrator. The next day, 6 a.m. Apart from Raven, who was eliminated for free yesterday, and is currently being remade as a clone, the other players have gradually emerged from their incubation pods. As for Sir Scavenge, who went out earlier, he hasn't returned yet. However, Dawnlight can confirm through the player list that Sir Scavenge is still alive, and not too far from Wetland Park. Old Bai found me and asked if I had any plans for today. After all, if the plot gets triggered, it would be absolutely awesome. Dawnlight told Old Bai to check the bulletin board himself and feel free to take initiative, as the shelter's top priorities right now are food and fortifications. The wall of the outpost has been completed on one side. The remaining 3 walls should be completed within 2 days. Right now, I'm more concerned that the increasing activity at the front station might alert the mutant tribe on 76th Street to the east, which wouldn't be good. After all, the shelter only has 3 guns right now. 2 of them are just 5mm squirt guns. Against those green-skinned muscle brutes, it's not that they are completely defenseless, but they would definitely get beaten up badly. Probably only one of them could manage to escape. If these players, especially the female ones, were captured by the mutants, that would truly be a fate worse than death. Usually, their minds would break before their bodies do. Although being captured might result in a forced disconnection, they might not be aware of what happens afterward. While I was still pondering the issue, Yi Tin and Feng Chong asked me about Sir Scavenge's whereabouts. I casually replied that I had assigned him a special task. Upon hearing this, all 4 of them turned red-eyed. After all, being able to take on a task from the administrator meant earning contribution points like crazy. I glanced at the 4 of them and still decided to bring Feng Chong, who could write strategies along. After all, having a brain is a valuable thing. Also, there was Yi Tin with his perception abilities. Upon hearing this, Feng Chang's eyes lit up, while Old Bai once again turned red-eyed with envy, jealous of those who got to work on tasks with the administrator every day. Feng Chong suddenly remembered what he had just said to Old Bai when he logged on. The 2 of them were going to study backyard steelmaking together. But then he thought about it. Steelmaking is nowhere near as appealing as following the administrator on missions. It's not just the generous rewards from the administrator. Just the first-hand intel from the outside wasteland is enough to get me excited. Mutant Dungeon has opened. Feng Chong said to Old Bai, "Wait for me to come back and we'll smelt steel together." Old Bai, with a dazed look in his eyes, just uttered "get lost," and didn't want to pay any attention to Feng Chong. Dawnlight led the 2 to the weapons warehouse, took out the only 2 5mm small pipe guns, and explained to them how to use the firearms, as well as not to turn off the safety unless in combat. I have issued the mission for this time, which is to go to the bronze farmland near Bait Street to exchange supplies. You must be clear about this mission. Unless absolutely necessary, you are not to open fire and create conflicts. We currently represent all members of Vault 404. Do you understand? Both of them eagerly expressed their understanding. After all, you can't just increase favorability every day. How lucky it is to be able to go on a mission with the administrator. Although I find the flattery from both of them quite exasperating. But I'm still glad that the players are so deeply immersed in the game. My dominance over the players is, in a sense, directly proportional to their level of immersion. I told the 2 to quiet down. We need to carry 50 kilograms of smoked meat, 20 kilograms of smoked fish, 10 pieces of mutated hyena fur, and a handcart for transport. You 2 go prepare together. We'll set off in 10 minutes. The 2 bowed in acknowledgement, and the 3 set off toward the ruins. Dawnlight knew that the shelter was severely lacking in the tools needed for construction. For example, small tools such as screwdrivers, screws, nails, wrenches, and so on. The tools currently in use are all made of wood by mosquito, which still results in relatively low efficiency. In the more than 200 years since the wasteland era, resources have become extremely scarce, but nothing is absolute. There will always be some valuable items discovered by people. These items are usually sold by scrappers to nearby survivor settlements, displayed as junk on shelves for passing caravans to pick through. I pulled 2 players to disguise themselves as a caravan. We headed to the nearby bronze farmland to trade for the supplies needed by the outpost. I set out from the south gate of Wetland Park with Yi Tin and Feng Chong, avoiding 76th Street, and headed toward bronze farmland. First, no one there knows me, and second, the road to bronze farmland is a bit easier to travel, passing through relatively fewer ruined cities. Although it looks close on the map, Yi Tin and Feng Chong were still exhausted. Our group had to detour around impassable ruins along the way, and we even encountered hostile survivors. Finally, before 9 a.m., we reached our destination. It truly looks like an estate. Stone walls enclose the entire property, and the tall iron gate sharply divides the inside from the outside. Unlike Bait Street, which has a large number of freedmen, the farm owners of bronze farmland are true landowners. There are only 2 types of people here. One is the farm owners' enforcers and the rest are serfs. But I am not afraid of any malicious intent they might have towards me, as typically, 2 opposing forces do not actively attack outsiders. At that moment, a hunting rifle was pointed at us. I signaled to Yi Tin and Feng Chong not to make any rash moves. Hey, stop. Who are you? What are you doing here? I had brought Yi Tin and Feng Chong to Bronze Farmland to exchange for daily necessities. As soon as we arrived at the gate, we were spotted by the farm owner's enforcers at Bronze Farmland, who ordered us to stand still and not move. Dawnlight explained the purpose of their visit, stating they only hoped to exchange some daily supplies with the farm owner. The farm owner's enforcer took off his sunglasses and carefully examined Dawnlight and the other two. I don't think I've seen you before. Where are you from? Dawnlight clarified that they came from the wilderness and happened to be passing by today, so they wanted to come in exchange for some daily necessities. Nomads. Dawnlight said. It depends on how you interpret it. Nomads are not uncommon in the wasteland, especially in the suburban areas. They could even be considered a fairly common presence. These individuals typically do not enter urban areas, mainly roaming the wilderness between cities. They primarily survive by hunting and migrate from place to place. Occasionally, they also engage in trade like merchants, exchanging hunted game and collected scrap for daily necessities. Of course, they occasionally resort to robbery as well. In this wasteland world where survival of the fittest reigns, there are no absolute definitions of good or evil. Under specific circumstances and conditions, anyone can become a raider. Seeing that all three members of Dawnlight were armed, the farm owner's enforcers dared not double-cross them, unsure of how many survivors remained in their tribe. After careful consideration, the farm owner's enforcers finally asked Dawnlight what supplies they wanted to trade for. I listed the supplies I currently have and expressed my need to exchange for hardware tools and crops grown from the land. I also made a promise that once the trade is successful, we will leave immediately and not disrupt your lives. The farmer's enforcers saw the sincerity of the group and truly believed they were here to exchange supplies. After saying they needed to consult with the farmer, they turned and left. Yi Tin looked at this survivor outpost and said to Feng Chong, "This is way more impressive than our shelter," adding that the architectural style had a post-apocalyptic vibe. Feng Chong excitedly remarked, "Finally, new content has been updated. This game is really thrilling." I didn't understand a single word of that farmer's enforcer's gibberish, and his expression was really asking for a beating. Crunch. The farm gate swung open from the inside. A serf pulled a cart out through the gate, followed by two enforcers, while several others stood guard at the entrance. On the cart were 4 sacks of grain and a basket of metal tools. One of the enforcers stepped forward. The two exchanged introductions. Lu Lunar and Dawnlight. Lu Lunar wanted to know about the supplies I had. I turned sideways to let him step forward and inspect the goods myself. I explained that the jerky was made from mutated dog meat, and the smoked fish were from catfish and crucian carp. Lu Lunar untied the burlap sack. He took out some of the jerky. He cut off a small piece. He threw it to the serf pushing the cart and asked him to try it. The serf cautiously took a bite and identified it as meat from a mutated dog. Unsalted, purely air-dried. After waiting 10 minutes and observing that the serf showed no adverse effects, confirming the meat was not poisonous, Lu Lunar agreed to the transaction. Lu Lunar said, 1 kilogram of smoked meat or smoked fish for 2 kilograms of green wheat or 2 kilograms of sheep horn potatoes. Furs for tools, 1 piece for 1 item. 1 kilogram of smoked meat is exchanged for at least 5 kilograms of grain, with half being green wheat and the other half sheep horn potatoes. Additionally, these furs are all of the finest quality, with each piece worth at least 3 tools in exchange. Dawnlight confidently stated that she had been to Bait Street before, and was well aware of the market conditions there. Lu Lunar was also at a loss with this difficult client. When I saw Lu Lunar standing there silently, I thought I had quoted too high a price. Lu Lunar said, "Deal." This deal left me utterly stunned. Do people on the farmer's side never bargain when doing business? But I couldn't help but narrow my eyes. It felt like having a bucket of cold water poured over me on a scorching summer day. That damn town chief has always sold me grain at exorbitant prices. The two of them looked at Lu Lunar and nodded. This deal should be settled. So why does administrator's expression look so grim? 50 kilograms of dried black meat and 20 kilograms of smoked fish were exchanged for a total of 350 kilograms of green wheat and horned potatoes. The remaining 10 pieces of fur were traded for 30 tools. I specifically selected higher quality items, preferably pre-war alloy products. Although these are all antiques, they are far superior to the civilian-grade goods in the wasteland world. The two parties shook hands, marking the end of the transaction. Lu Lunar was quite satisfied with the gains and welcomed me to come again. My expression, however, was as unpleasant as if I had eaten shit. After all, being cheated by the mayor on Bait Street and then by the farmer here, who could possibly accept that? Lu Lunar made a request for tobacco leaves, which are excellent for relieving fatigue, and can also enhance the flavor when added to food. Dawnlight stated that all available items for trade had already been presented this time, and any further transactions would have to wait until the next opportunity. Dawnlight fantasized about whether they should trade for 1 or 2 slaves to bring back next time. After all, things not enjoyed in the original world could still be indulged in within the wasteland world. But now there are no more items left to trade. Well, maybe next time Lu Lunar said this tobacco doesn't cost any money and just tossed it into my hands. Only a fool would turn down free stuff. Why not exchange it for a chip or 2? Wouldn't that be great? 3 people pushed carts loaded with goods and returned to the shelter. Yi-Tin excitedly said to Fang Chong, "That was the new map Bronze Farmland, right?" Fang Chong replied, "Seems like that's the name. If nothing goes wrong, what we're testing today should be the trading system and the new neutral faction outpost. I guess the next update will probably introduce a brand new merchant trading gameplay. Do you remember what the game designer told us before? The economic system of Wasteland OL will be designed based on a completely realistic supply and demand system. Exchanging resources with other survivor settlements is essential." Wow, hearing that makes me so excited for the open beta. The open beta is probably still a long way off. This game company has big ambitions, so there's likely a lot more content to test. Fighting monsters, building, and trading. However, I feel that even before the open beta, by the time it reaches the closed beta stage, the game content should already be quite rich. But then again, are you sure that Brother Dwanlight, the game designer, can't hear you talking about him here? After hearing what Yi-Tin said, I'm feeling really nervous. He yelled at the sky, "Brother Dwanlight, I was wrong. You're my dad." Dawnlight was speechless. Truly, the joys of foolish youth are many. Likes and follows for support. Thank you, bros. After the 3 of them, Dawnlight, finished trading supplies at Bronze Farmland, they pushed the fully loaded carts back toward the shelter. Walking through the dilapidated city ruins, with blood still trickling down the walls, Dawnlight suddenly sensed that danger was approaching him. He quickly took cover against the wall and surveyed the surroundings, but surprisingly, a 4-legged, 2-armed crawler was clinging high up on the wall. Why would a crawler be out in broad daylight? The crawler bared its teeth at me, poised to attack. But our protagonist, always a step ahead, drew his gun and unleashed a barrage of shots at the crawler. But because the distance was too great, none of the shots hit, and it drew gunfire from Dawnlight. Crawler felt an overwhelming rage and charged straight toward Dawnlight. At that moment, Yi-Tian, Fang Chong, and the others thought they were utterly terrified. No, players like them would only get excited at the sight of a new monster. Continuous attacks still failed to hit the crawler. Dawnlight is very anxious about her current situation. Both of them still hope to join forces with the administrator to repel the crawler. Dawnlight thought to herself, "Nars are all zombies, but crawlers can think and hunt like living beings. But this creature fears sunlight. Who on earth was the fool that provoked it?" The crawler jumped out from the other side of the balcony again. I quickly launched a series of continuous attacks, but I still failed to hit the slippery crawler. The crawler was simply too fast, making me hesitate to shoot for a moment. Watching the crawler getting closer and closer, I steadied my mind, aimed at the target and fired a shot. Finally, a gunshot wound was left on the crawler's right shoulder. Both sides fell into a brief calm. Crawler was also lying on the ground, his body trembling uncontrollably. Yi-Tin and Fang Chong seized the opportunity, firing continuously at Crawler. Crawler charged towards the 3 despite the gunfire, yet our crawler remained completely unscathed. Even a blind person couldn't have such terrible luck with a gun. Just as Fang Chong thought he was about to enjoy a 3-day cooldown, Crawler didn't even glance at Fang Chong and Yi-Tin. He walked straight toward Dawnlight. Crawler and Dawnlight faced each other directly, which made Dawnlight feel immense pressure. It instantly pounced toward Dawnlight on the opposite side. At that moment, Dawnlight knew that using firearms could no longer harm Crawler, so he resolutely discarded his Xiaomi rifle. He drew the long blade from his back and held it in front of him. Crawler clamped its jaws around Dawnlight's long blade. This puts our Dawnlight in a dilemma. Although Dawnlight's power level of 9.9 far exceeds that of ordinary people, it still falls short compared to Crawler. With one forceful move, Crawler slammed Dawnlight to the ground and sent him flying. He crashed heavily into the dilapidated green passenger bus. Such a vast disparity is truly despair-inducing. How will our protagonist turn the tide later? Or will he meet a gruesome end? Stay tuned for the next episode. Why would Crawler, who supposedly dislikes light, appear in broad daylight to hunt. Attacked by Crawler, Dawnlight coughed up blood. Crawler approached him, and the overwhelming sense of pressure made Dawnlight tighten his grip on his long blade. Crawler swiftly closed in on Dawnlight, opening its mouth as if to devour him, all because Dawnlight had earlier injured it with a gunshot. Boom! Once again, Dawnlight blocked Crawler's attack with his long blade. At this critical moment of life and death, the power hidden within the gene sequence surged forth in great waves. I let out a furious roar. I distanced myself from the Crawler. The Crawler flew into a rage and slapped at me. Just when Dawnlight thought his life was in grave danger. Bang bang bang, continuous gunshots were fired at Crawler. The bullets pierced into the flesh, causing Crawler to let out a painful scream. Yitian said, "What if my aim is lousy? I'll shoot up close and I refuse to believe I can't hit you." The two of them kept firing at Crawler at close range. Dawnlight knew that the time for his counterattack had come. He gripped the long blade, gathering strength in his right hand. Piercing into the Crawler's neck, double kill. At this point, the Crawler fell to the ground, unable to rise. Dawnlight expressed gratitude for the timely intervention of the two. After the intense battle just now, Dawnlight was too exhausted to support her own body. Fangchong quickly stepped forward to support the administrator. Fangchong suggested, "Would it be better to help you rest in a nearby shop first?" However, Yiten expressed a different opinion, saying, "The commotion from the fight just now was quite loud. What if it attracts other enemies?" Dawnlight also agreed with Yiten's suggestion and proposed that the two of them gather all the goods and rest a bit further away. As the sun set in the west, Yiten pushed the cart along.